All right, welcome into episode 28 of Two Man Game with Damon and Dom. I'm Damon, that's Dom. It's Sunday. It is bright. It is daylight outside. We haven't done this in a while. I'm about to be on my spring break. I'm not sure if you are as well over at UCLA, but it is Sunday and it is a good day. It's nice weather here in Texas. How is it over in California? How are you? How is everything?
It's a beautiful day here in California. I don't get spring break. Thanks for reminding me.
No problem.
I will be at work every day this week, but I am flying to Vancouver Friday, which
Exciting.
I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna hang out with my mom, hang out with some Canadians,
Shout
gonna
out
hang out
Adley.
Agla, pretty good, pretty good.
Almost. I'll get
Just
it
say
one day.
Dom's mom, Dom's mom. No, yeah. I'm gonna hang out with some Canadians. Ask them why doesn't Vancouver have a Canadian basketball team anymore? Let's let
I
them.
thought you were saying, why does Canada not have a basketball team? It's like, actually, it
It's
does.
like you know what's crazy? I think they do. They have one, I think. And they should be like the Vancouver Velociraptor. There should be some, not
Oh,
Velociraptors. It should be another dinosaur, not raptors, like Rexes or something. I think
Vancouver
that'd be pretty
Rexes.
cool.
That's a terrible name.
Yeah, Rex's wasn't my best. I just thought of it. The Saurus, Stegosauruses. Anyways, enough about dinosaurs. No, I'm good. It's a good day here. I'm excited. I'm going to a friend's show, comedy show tonight. And yeah, and just generally trying to relax this weekend. How's your weekend been? Enjoying the spring forward?
Yeah. I was up last night late looking at what we're gonna get into later, our power rankings, doing some research and compiling my list. And I was on my phone just typing things into a Google Doc, and it was 159, and then it was three, and I was like, oh, oh no, I forgot that this was happening. So yeah, all of a sudden it was very late. Um, and yeah, I think Autumn and I, shout out Autumn, are gonna go somewhere later this week. I'm not sure where. We sent each other a collection of different Airbnbs, kind of just in random places, in Texas, mostly like just kind of like naturey, just to
Yeah,
go somewhere for like a day or two, just like a little getaway. Nothing too crazy, too big, or too expensive.
yeah,
Most importantly, but just like different. Like I sent them a yurt, just like a
yeah. I
like
know
a
what a yurt. Yeah, I know
okay,
what a
yeah.
yurt is. But explain it to someone who might not know.
Well, I don't really know what it is. What it looks like is like a big tent, basically, that's been modernized and has electricity and AC and stuff. But
Yeah,
it is essentially like a big tent. And the one what we were looking at has like I don't know if all yurts have this, has like a hole in the roof, um, which is really
yeah. I
interesting.
think. Yeah, I think that's part of the design.
Okay, and
That's to help circulate with the air, I think, but I don't know too much about it either.
I just wondered, like, what if it rains? Um, I'm
You
sure
deal
there's like
with
a
it.
cover or something, but I was like, interesting. And yeah, this place they were looking at has like trails and bikes and games
Yeah.
and such. So something like that is probably what we'll end up doing. But we haven't quite finalized it yet. But yeah, I think that will happen over the break. Aside from that, I did nothing yesterday, but play games and watch movies. That's literally all I did all day.
The life.
I've been a little more productive today. Got litter done. Uh, I tried to make some pancakes, which I've never done before, and I did it really bad, by the way. I did really bad.
Yeah,
They
it's
they were
not
so
easy.
burnt.
Yeah.
Autumn can make them like that. Autumn was like, "Here, you do it like this," and I was like, "Okay."
Like, so you
So
do them from now on. Cool.
well, yeah, I said, "Don't worry, I got it," because they're like, "I kind of want pancakes, so I'm gonna make them," and I was like, "Okay, I'll make them." And then I was reading the instructions, and I like it. I feel like this happens half the time I try to cook something. It says medium to high heat, and that's way too much. Like it should
Yeah.
be low to
Yeah.
medium heat. It was probably the thing that messed up. So I made like three kind of burnt pancakes, and then I ate all three of them. I was like, "Yep, these will be mine, and you can go ahead and make yours. I'm not gonna make them because I'm gonna ruin them." So.
Did you
Um,
just smother it in like maple syrup so you couldn't taste
Oh,
how burnt it
there was a
was?
lot of butter, a lot of syrup. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
not
That's
great. They did get better. Like the third one was the definitely the best one. It
oh,
was
because you like yeah, I thought you meant like I got better because I was just getting so like
oh, like as I was
hallucinating.
eating them.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I'm just like it's getting better so because I was just filling myself with this
It's like
stuff.
the third one was like the least burnt.
Yeah,
So
that
it
makes sense.
was good. But yeah,
Mm.
I did the litter and started some laundry, shaved, showered. I'll probably do some other, cleaning kind of stuff today. Be a little more productive than yesterday. Yesterday I played Persona for like 5 hours, and then we watched like three horror movies, and that was like
Haven't you
my
already
day.
played Persona?
Persona 5, but I think I did this last episode. I like did my whole dramatic arm reveal.
Yeah.
Um, but no, this is a remake of Persona 3, which was a PS2 game that I never played because
Oh, okay. So never.
so
I was gonna make fun of you, but I won't make fun of you anymore.
different, same concept, different game characters and such. But
No,
yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
that's been my weekend so far. How have you done anything? You
Well,
do stuff all the time.
yeah, when I got out of bed eventually yesterday, I did go. My friend of mine had a music showcase that he puts on called The Gay Agenda, and it was all like LGBTQ artists during the
Oh,
day.
very cool.
It was pretty cool. Had some friends playing, and that was nice just to go hang out. And then I went played pool with a friend last night. I was texting you because you were texting me about the power rankings,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you kept saying it's like 3 a.m. here, and I'm like, dude, it's like midnight. What are you talking? I was just like, I it was interesting because here when it became 2 a.m. it went to 3.
Yeah.
So for you, you say it went from 1 to 2?
Well, no, no, that was the same thing that happened for me. I realized there was a couple hour gap we were different because I guess I assumed that everyone jumped the hour at the same time, but I think every time zone jumps the hour from 1:59 to 3. So I had already made the 1:59 to 3 jump, but you hadn't
Yeah.
gotten that far. So it was like 12:30 for you and it was like 3:30 for me. So
I was gonna say yeah, because when I got home, so on my phone, since I know a ton of my parents and all my friends are back home, on my phone, on my home screen, I have the time in Austin,
Mm.
just because I know it's only add two, but I'm like, why not? And it was ahead for 3 hours, and I was like,
You're
that's
like,
so
what's going
interesting.
on?
But like, I thought every, because I thought the same thing as you, like it all changed at the same time, but it doesn't make sense if it did it that way. So like it would have at midnight, it would have became 1 a.m. here, which would have been weird. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Instead of like just going from 2 to 3. So, um, spring forward.
Do bars close at 3 a.m. then? Since it jumps, it goes from like 1:59 to 3, and then they're like, okay, we're closed.
Well, they closed at 2. Well, technically,
But
like
there was no two last night.
exact. Well, what's so interesting though, a lot of places here, and I know when I was back in Austin, a lot of places have been doing this now. Technically, bars close at 2, but they start kicking people out at 1:30, which is so weird. Like I remember like being at a place until 2, you know what I mean? But now they're just like, oh, it's 1:30, lights up, no more music, get out. I'm like, there's 30 more minutes left
Yeah,
till
I
you
mean, I guess
close.
it's like it makes sense. Like you don't want to serve people right before they have to leave.
Yeah, usually they'll do a last
Um,
call, but then that means last call is like 1:15. I'm like, what? So I'm gonna have one drink for 45 minutes? Give me 4 shots of tequila, you know?
yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And I guess there's probably some amount of places that like deal with people that don't leave. So it's like, okay, now it's 2:30 and we just got done kicking people out and we still have to, clean everything and blah blah blah. So maybe it's just it's like a retail store closing the door 15 minutes early so they can close the register or whatever. I guess it's like a similar concept.
Yeah, but that's too easy. They should just stay open if I want to stay open.
And you don't want to be the person that's like, "Hey, I'm walking in the door at 1:50. What's up?"
The customer's always right. So if I want a beer at 150, give me a beer.
I'll sometimes look at places on the map that close like let's say it's 10 p.m. and a place closes at 11 and I'm
Yeah.
like, do I want to order from here? Is it too late? I'm like, so it's like an hour left, but I'm like
I'm usually
over.
like, woo, I still have 40 minutes. So like close.
They gonna
Um,
spit in my food?
No, but I mean, like, but they, it's you're not ordering 5 minutes before they close. Also,
Yeah.
like, they get paid for all that. It's not like they work for free. So, but I get it. I mean, no one wants to stay later than they expect, you know? So there is like a certain amount of, you know, like courtesy of like not staying open later than you should or ordering anything too soon. But like, you do last call 1:15, 1:30, then you kind of do all the cleanup, but you don't kick
Mhm.
people out until like 1:50, but these people just kick people out. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Speaking of working for free, I volunteered. I forgot to mention this. I volunteered at the Central Texas Food Bank on Friday.
Cool.
And I should provide some context because I did get paid for it. But It
Interesting.
was I was substituting a class we teach at my school where basically it's like the class is essentially like turning like making sure people it's a class seniors have to take and it's like turning them into like good Samaritans or making sure not that's wrong, not turning them into good Samaritans. It's more like there's four sections of the class. It's physical, healthy habits, art, and music. And like they have to do that for 4 hours on like 6 Fridays in a row.
Yeah.
Um, and it's about just like being well and making sure you're good, essentially. Um, but this was the last session with like this group of students until we have another group next week. Um, and they always do some sort of activity like this. And I was substituting because Anthony, who is a coworker of mine, is out on paternity leave because he just had a child. Uh, so I was substituting his section of it, and we went to the food bank to volunteer as like the closeout, and we still got paid for it because it was like teaching hours. Essentially, we
Yeah.
just volunteered instead of teaching the class, if that makes sense. So it was like four teachers and three students, and
I see what you're saying.
we went and volunteered at the food bank. And that
That's
was
cool.
nice. It felt really
Yeah.
nice, felt rewarding. I told Autumn, I was like, I would definitely do this again, like not as a part of the school, just to come like volunteer. Um,
Yeah. Is it
I,
called the Capital City Food Bank?
Central
Or
Texas.
okay, maybe it's I remember in college I volunteered at a food bank and I think it was called something different,
Yeah,
but I don't remember.
it was nice. I was an expediter, and I basically like there were stations of people that were bagging carrots and potatoes. I almost said carriages, carrots and potatoes, and I was like lifting 50-pound bags of cabbage and carrots and bringing them as people were running out. And then there was like a giant sack, like Looney Tune large sack of potatoes taller than me that we were having to dig potatoes out of and like sort through and make sure they were good and then bring potatoes over as well. And then as people are going through, they would find like produce that was bad and throw it in
Yeah.
like a little trash can under their station. And then we'd go around and collect the trash. And then we had like these big, in schools they have like the big garbage like things they roll through the hallways to collect all the trash bags, like when you're in public school.
Oh, yeah, I
Like
mean it's like a trash can, a big
yeah,
one. Yeah.
it's like a wheelbarrow trash can,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we had one of those just like full of compost and full of trash that we went and dumped in like a machine outside, then ran the machine. It was like 3 hours that went by like lightning fast, and I was super sore. And then I had basketball practice later that day too. And we played the full court. I was telling you before the pod, 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, and I've been sore since then. But I wanted to mention that because I totally forgot that I did that.
Cool.
That was a long-winded explanation for nothing, but
No, you explained the whole process, how a food bank works.
the top of the show, guys, is long. Skip ahead.
The name of the episode is Volunteer in a Local Food Bank.
I mean, yeah, that's a good name.
Not a bad one. Yeah,
Uh,
when I was in college and I volunteered, it was not we weren't sorting produce. It was just a whole bunch of like donated cans and we were sorting like cans and
oh,
things that were
interesting.
expired or not. That kind of stuff. Um, but talking about cans and I was trying to do a segue
What's the
somehow.
segue? What's the segue
I
here?
can't. I was talking about cans. Can you show me what you're wearing?
Ah, there it
Ah,
is.
there we
I am
go.
wearing a Houston Rocket Russell Westbrook #0 jersey. It's in the style of the mid to late '90s Rockets, kind of Hakeem Olajuwon era. Um, so it's like a throwback jersey with Russell Westbrook stuff on it, even though he was a Rocket for like 1 year. I have three Russell Westbrook Rocket jerseys because, of course, I do.
I thought it was there for 2 years. 1 year?
Maybe it is 2 years. I don't know.
Okay, I just thought two,
No,
but
it definitely is because yeah, he was on the playoff bubble Rockets, and
yeah.
then he was on the year after that. So yeah, it was 2 years.
Okay, gotcha. And I am wearing. I went to University of Texas at Austin, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt. University of Texas at Austin. March, college basketball. I don't really watch March Madness stuff, but my roommates are obsessed with March Madness and college basketball, so I thought it'd be festive to wear it. Although March Madness has not begun, it is March now. So
Yeah, it's weird that it goes until like the first week of April or like the second
yeah,
week of April. I'm like,
it's
why?
more like spring madness. Am
Yeah,
I
it's
right?
it's it's weird. It's like just change all the dates so it fits into March Madness. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, basketball NBA is more entertaining, anyways. So
True, true. March Madness is fun to like watch at least highlights of.
yeah, the tournament aspect is fun, but then it's every time I watch it, it's like the skills that are there are just not as good. So it's
Yeah,
just like not what I'm used to. I was talking to
me
my
and you could
roommate.
take them.
Absolutely. People always ask me like, do you think you could score in an NBA game? And I'm like, I think I could get a goal in an NBA
It's
game. In college, though, I could do a lot more.
there's context. It's like, am I getting 30 minutes a game in the NBA? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
probably will score at least once.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you putting me in for one possession and I have to score? I don't, probably not.
They'll probably just swarm me, and I'll just like fall to the ground because that's what I would probably
I mean,
happen if.
I'll cherry pick, I'll just sit kind of by the 3 point line, and then as soon as they shoot, I'll run and I'll try to
Yeah,
get that cross court open layup,
yeah. I'll
to
probably
get
just be
my
cutting and
one
stuff.
bucket,
Yeah. No, but I mean, college basketball is not easy.
and then
What they
sub
do
me out.
is, yeah, please get me out of there. I'm not running back to the other side. I'm not playing
Eh,
defense. No, I also don't want to say like college basketball is not like these players are
oh, they're
good.
good.
They're
Oh yeah,
very good. They're very good.
they're better than
Uh,
us for sure.
yeah, they're definitely better than us. But I would like to think that, you know, I could I could do all right.
Yeah, I
Um,
could be the 13th guy
yeah,
on
yeah,
a
of course.
on a D3 college basketball bench or
Oh,
something.
absolutely. Yeah. Talking about benches, Lakers
Sure.
update.
We're killing it today.
I'm so good at these transitions.
Actually,
It's crazy.
you could have tied it just directly into this first point here, I think.
That's what I'm saying. Talking
Oh,
about
okay.
benches, the
Yeah, yeah.
Lakers signed Harry Giles III.
Yeah,
He's gonna sit on the bench.
he is going to sit on the bench. You know who he used to play for?
I've never heard his name before.
He used to be on the Kings.
Cool.
That's all I know.
I feel like he's a wing shooter, right? That's
He's like
what
a
we've been
power
kind of.
forward center, I
Then
think.
okay, well, you know how much I know. So I just wanted to put that there.
I'm gonna look it up. Make sure I'm right.
Okay. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. We had one more roster spot, and I think we filled it with this guy. So hopefully,
We filled it with this guy is hilarious.
I think we do have a pretty solid rotation though, especially when it comes to the playoffs. But at least just to make it through like this last little bit. Um,
Yeah, he's
hopefully
6'10".
he does a good job. Do you know, does he wear number 20 on the
Well, the thing I
Lakers?
was looking at says he's forward on the Nets that wears number 14. So, yep,
Mhm.
number 20 on the Lakers. Yep, yep, yep.
Okay, cool. I did see him play. He got some minutes against somebody. I don't remember. I think it was the game against the Kings that they lost, which I'm going to talk about right now.
Averaging 3 points a game, baby,
Let's go.
from Duke.
Um, so the Lakers right now are currently ninth in the West, behind the Mavericks. They're about a game and a half behind the Mavericks, and two and a half behind the Suns.
Mm,
35 and 30. They lost to the Kings, which they should have won and probably needed to win.
mhm.
They started really well in that game, blowing them out in the first quarter. It was like 40-22. And then
Wow.
the Kings just like came in and annihilated them. And then it was just not a close game after that. And that was with LeBron. But then they played the Bucks. What was that, 2 days ago?
The
On
Kings
Friday.
loses to the Kings.
Yeah, I saw a comment on YouTube that said the Lakers have one king, the Kings have all the kings. Like, okay, okay, you got us. And then they played the Bucks on Friday
Yeah.
without LeBron, and they won. They won by
Wow.
1 point. Yeah, it was a 1 point game. D'Lo got the winning floater, and then Spencer Dinwiddie got the winning block on Damian Lillard.
Was this the game where D'Lo was had like 40 something?
He had 44,
He was
9
cooking.
assists, and 6 rebounds. Yeah, he was going off.
Let him cook.
Um, yeah, no, it was very. I watched the beginning of the game, and I listened to a lot of it on the radio when I was driving to a friend's gig. But I missed the very end, unfortunately. But the Lakers had like a lead most of the game. In the third and fourth, they lost the lead, but it was always kind of close. and they came back and won. I'm very proud of them. It's so interesting how the Lakers play without LeBron. Like
Yeah,
they play with a bit more urgency, which I wish they wouldn't, because if they're winning games without him, they should be winning games with him.
he's too
But
old. He's too slow.
I don't know. I really don't know what it is. But they play the Timberwolves today. I will watch the game. I think LeBron is playing. I'll double check. His ankle's been bothering him a little bit. He's only missed
Maybe
9 games.
maybe they just feel freer without LeBron. Like they don't have to. Like LeBron's kind of the system on offense when he's
Yeah.
there. So without him, it's like, oh, okay, we can just do whatever.
Yeah, I will say though, like, so the game they lost to the Kings, I think AD only had like 13 or 14 shot attempts, which is way too little. So in the Bucks game, like almost every possession, they made sure to give AD the ball, which worked out very well. So hopefully, when there's not another ball handler like LeBron on the court, maybe it kind of gives more room for AD to operate. But I mean, obviously LeBron and AD are very good together too. So it is interesting. I think they do feel more free, like you said, in a bit. Um, yeah, like they're a bit more compared a bit more of a fluid offense than, oh, we got to feed one of these two guys the ball or something.
Right.
But yeah, so they play the Wolves today. We'll see how that goes. They're a little short-handed, the Timberwolves,
Hmm.
in some aspects. So they're still a very, very good team, and the Lakers always find a way to lose to them somehow. So we'll see.
Oh, we'll get to how they're shorthanded, all right.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention it just yet. So, but tell me about the Rockets. How are they doing?
The Rockets. Before I tell you about the Rockets, I have a question. Do you think, or how interesting do you think it is that the I guess I have heard that one of the reasons the Lakers didn't trade for DeJounte Murray is because he or they couldn't the Hawks couldn't find a third team to swing D'Angelo Russell to.
Hmm.
Um and like nobody wanted D'Angelo Russell, and now D'Angelo Russell's out here doing this,
Yeah.
like that's so interesting to me. I feel like D'Angelo Russell is constantly hated, which is weird.
I don't understand it. I wonder if it might be like I feel like his attitude can come into question, but I
Hmm.
feel like he's gotten a lot better. Like there are other players I see that have more of a attitude problem on the court, and D'Lo more is like I'll say an example. Like after he did it wasn't the floater that won the game, but it was a possession or two before where it was very similar. He got a floater, and Damian Lillard got called for a blocking foul.
Mm,
um the whole Bucks bench was like, challenge it, challenge it, challenge it, and then he like looked over at them and he was doing it to them too, kind of like mockingly,
hmm.
like, challenge it, come on, like, do it. But like, to me, that's fun and not like an attitude. So I think it's very interesting. I can't speak for the locker room, but when D'Lo when they play, like him and AD were like having fun on the when on during the Bucks game. Like there's a really good pass that AD got for D'Lo, and they both kind of did the binoculars at each other. It was like, I am interested. I wonder. I think maybe people think he's a liability on defense, but
Mm.
even then, he's not that bad. Like there are worse
Yeah, so is
defenders
every point
out
guard in the
there.
NBA.
Yeah, I know. So it is interesting. I also don't like that the Lakers want to trade him, because they always give up on players too soon, is my opinion. And imagine if D'Lo was on some third team, he'd be hooping like this. So,
Right.
'cause we wouldn't have won the Bucks game without D'Lo. A lot of those games without um LeBron or AD, like when we beat the Celtics, D'Lo was a big part of that. Rui has also been doing very good.
So he's
Um,
Grant Williams. That's what I'm hearing.
Possibly, possibly. Also, don't want to say episode 28. This is the Rui Hachimura episode, and also my birthday episode, because this is the I said that I would say my birth year on the episode, that it is my number of the year I am. So I'm 28, episode 28,
That
Rui
was
Hachimura. That was, I know, so much
flawlessly executed.
flawless delivery.
Yeah,
flawlessly delivered. Don't listen back to that. I'm 28, guys. That's all that matters.
episode 25, I would say, was your birthday episode. That was
Yeah,
right after
yeah.
your birthday, but then you said when we get to the episode of my age, I'll reveal it. So that was a throwback to that. So
This
go
is the
back and listen
reveal.
if you're not listening. I guess
That's the reveal. The
I should admit,
reveal is that I was gonna reveal it this episode. Um,
yes.
but
I
yeah,
should,
that's a good question about D'Lo. But I like him a lot on the Lakers. I think he fits well in the system. I think we have other guards and wings that complement, like, so whatever defensive shortcomings he has, we have players that can make up for that. Although we have still dealing with some injuries. Vanderbilt is still out. Christian Wood is out. Gabe Vincent is no man's land. But interested to see. We have a difficult. We've been playing in the crypto.com arena for our, like, this was our seventh straight or eighth straight game today. Technically, one of the games was a away game against the Clippers, but you know what I mean. It's a home game,
the crypt.
the Crypt. So we're gonna have a road trip soon, and I'm a little bit worried about that. And playing some
Li-
really good.
The Lakers get 45 home games every year. Unfair.
Oh, are you, because they play the Clippers?
Like oh no, I guess they would be 43 because they get 41 home games. Two, and I assume they play the Clippers four times. Two of those would be home, two of them would be away.
Yeah, so
But
it'd be 40 exactly.
43, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, enough about the Lakers. Who
Okay, let's talk
cares?
about the
Let's talk about a
Rockets.
worse team, the Houston Rockets.
Let's go.
We are currently 28 and 35, 11th seed in the West. We've passed the Jazz. The Jazz are really trying to lose, though. They're trying to do what they did last season and just tank tremendously towards
Do
the
you
end
know?
here.
Do you know why they're tanking?
Um,
Because they don't have Simone Fontecchio anymore.
that's true. They also like just don't play. Like the Laurie Marketing just like doesn't play.
That too.
They're just like running out random guys now. They're literally just trying to tank. I don't think they'll catch some of the teams at the bottom, but they passed the Rockets up. Maybe they'll pass like the Grizzlies up. But other than that, I don't think they're catching the Blazers, the Spurs, or any of those god awful teams in the East that we'll get to later.
Yes, we
Um,
will.
so yeah, the Rockets. I think I've said this for 5 episodes in a row. This is where they're going to stay. They're going to sit here at 11. That's where they'll probably finish the season. I don't see them passing up the Warriors, or Lakers, or anyone like that to get in the play-in, and I don't see them falling below the Jazz or any of those teams. So I think they'll sit right here outside of the play-in, the worst possible place to be. So that's great. We don't have our own pick this year anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It was like top four protected, I believe, to the Nets for the James Harden. No, that doesn't make any sense. We have the Nets pick. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know who our pick. The Thunder. Someone has our pick.
Yeah. I
For
don't
some
remember either, yeah.
trade I don't remember. Maybe Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul. Maybe that's what it is. Um, and the Thunder have our pick. I actually do think that's what it is. Anyways, couple games recently we've had Alperen Şengün put up 45 points, 16 rebounds, and a win over Wimby and the Spurs on March 5th. We won by 13. That was very exciting. And then followed that up next game, March 6th, back to back. 23 points, 19 rebounds, 14 assists, in a game that we lost by 6 to the Clippers. So, two really good games for him. He is kind of coming back to form. You know, he had some All-Star buzz early in the season, and then he kind of was blah for a little bit, and now he's kind of going back to the number one guy on our team. So that's fun. And then we had a good kind of team win of the Blazers by 16 on March 8th because the Blazers, I mean, they were running nobody. They were playing, Chris Murray at the four and Delano Banton starting at shooting guard. He scored 30 on us, by the way. So that's not good. But that's the Rockets. I think pretty much in a nutshell. We have everybody except, yeah, I mentioned last episode, Tari Easton's out for the season.
Yeah.
Everybody else is fine and playing fine. The team is just fine. I think it's kind of a stepping stone year. Hopefully next year we can get into the play-in race, with development of some of our young players. But yeah,
So the Rockets right now are living on the edge of the play-in, like 11, 12th seed, probably where they'll end up, probably 11th.
yeah.
Next year, what do you think pushes them into the play-in picture? Just the development of the younger players, just them playing better, or is it something else? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, hopefully you see Shingun continue to take this jump into even more like all-star form next year. Jabari Smith has actually been pretty underratedly good this year. Like he hasn't been doing anything that like jumps off the page, but he's been playing his role. He plays really good defense. I remember his rookie year, I went to a ton of Rockets games, and he played one of them against the Bucks. He held Giannis to like 13 points, and he was playing like really good defense on him the whole game. He was basically guarding him, so he showed signs here and there. And this year, I think he's starting to get some of the consistency. So I think as Ime Udoka continues coaching, everybody kind of solidifies what their role is on the team. I think right now it's really just Jalen Green is probably the guy that's kind of out in no man's land in terms of role. Like I feel like everyone else has kind of a solid idea of what they do.
Yeah,
Like Fred VanVleet runs the offense. Dylan Brooks is kind of the hard-nosed defender as he does. Şengün gets a lot of offense run through him as well with Fred. And then I think Jalen Green is supposed to be kind of like a shooter slash scorer, but he sometimes just doesn't do anything. So I think, as they develop and solidify their roles, maybe Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore get some more time. And continuity is, I think, important for a team like this that has been so bad and shuffling through young players for so long. Um, and also, I guess, playing picture wise, some team would have to fall out. I think the top
yeah,
10 right now are pretty solid in the West. I don't know who, declines that dramatically. And, assuming the Grizzlies are going to be in that picture next year too. So
yeah.
it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's like I don't know. I'm thinking of the top 10 in the West. I don't know what of those teams would not be there again next year. So
The Clippers, I already know, so don't worry about that.
gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. No need to worry. I'm here. But that makes sense to me. Yeah, I like what I've been seeing though from the younger players, and I think just them developing is going to be really good. Um, yeah, I don't think it's a thing about like signing like an all superstar or whatever. I think it's
No,
just about
no.
developing. Yeah, because I think you're seeing like they are already better than they were last year.
Mhm.
And signing like a few people helps with that. Fred, Jeff Green, Dylan Brooks, not Jock Landale.
Jock Landale, baby. What are you talking about? Aaron Holiday
Come
from
on.
the Houston
Number
Rockets.
three, Aaron Holiday.
I'm wearing my Aaron Holiday jersey. Actually,
Oh my
that's
God,
that's what
stop
that's what I'm wearing right now.
it. That's so funny. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see what they do next year. And yeah, I feel like other teams are gonna kind of take a dip, but we'll see. We'll talk about that when the time comes. But
Yes,
thanks
we
for the
shall.
update on the Rockets.
Of course.
And
Let's dive in.
talking about updates,
Let's dive into some injuries, shall we?
yeah, shall we? Yeah, so Jalen Brunson had a knee contusion in the beginning. It's like in the first minute or two of a game against
Yeah,
I
it
I
happened
don't
right before our last pod. I believe
yeah,
it was against the Cavs.
I was and then oh yeah, and the next game they won. I
Mhm.
remember watching it was the Cavs and the Knicks won that game. And then I watched the Knicks play against the oh my God, I'm blanking on the teams they played against. It was a
Fill in the space
it was a
while
very
Dominic thinks.
it was a
Uh,
very like small it was a magic. It was very
I got the
low scoring
magic
game.
in
It
me.
was like 28-74, and Brunson played the game. So he's back already, which is good to see. And
Yeah, people thought he was gonna be out.
yeah,
So
which would have been really bad because the Knicks are literally they're at kind of stripped down there. Like he's the last kind of all-star they have us playing right
no
now.
Randall, no OG.
Yeah. But hopefully they'll come back sooner than later. And Brunson's still there. So
Yeah.
Knicks are still good. They're still afloat. That was a pretty important game too because looking at the standings, they're both 4-5 right now.
hmm
And because of that win, Knicks to stay above the Magic. So
Yeah, they had been looking very good after the trade deadline, and then unfortunately got a couple injuries there. So
mhm.
hopefully they can stay afloat. And we'll talk about the Knicks later in our power rankings. One of the more difficult teams for me to rank due to the nature of their injuries and we don't know what is going to happen. So
Yeah. What's another team that's trying to stay afloat, but they have an injury that just happened?
that would be the GSW Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry rolled his ankle, and basically they're keeping this very under wraps. They just said he'll miss a little bit of time. That was basically what they said. He hasn't played. That was like maybe 2 days ago that this happened. 3 days. I think it was on
Yeah.
Friday, when this happened. So, or maybe it was on Thursday. It happened. It was reported Friday. Um, and yeah, he hasn't played since then. But it's only been a couple days, so we'll see. But it's very minor injury. But Warriors are the 10 seed right now, and their team is not good when he does not play. So, you need him. You need Steph Curry. I hate to say it, guys. You need one of the, or not one of the best shooter of all time.
Yeah.
Um,
Your all whole offense is built around him, and Clay is not the person shooter he was.
that
So
guy's coming off
definitely
the
a
bench now. I don't know if you
Yeah, which
guys
is
seen
working
that.
for him. Like I'm fine, with that. I don't judge that too harsh. But like
They they
you can't
started the
just
other day. It was like Steph, Pajimski, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you're
No
starting 6
center.
6. This is a crazy lineup.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. Warriors are behind the Lakers. They're like a game or two behind. Lakers have played more games than the Warriors, so it's also kind of weird because of the in-season tournament. I
Yeah.
wonder how they kind of figure that out. But I know they want to stay in the race. At least they're five
Look
games ahead
out.
of the
The
Rockets.
mighty Rockets are coming.
I
Look
mean, you
out.
never know. Like, it's interesting. We'll see kind of how the rest of the season plays out. I don't know
Don't
how
let
this
don't
how
let us
they're
in the 10 seed. I'm
oh
flying to LA for the Lakers Rockets play-in game if that ever happens.
dude, it's gonna happen now. Now that you said it, it's out in the universe now. It
The
has to.
9-10 game where we absolutely get crushed, and I spent $800 to fly there and watch the game.
You're gonna fly here. You're gonna spend $800 to come watch the game, and then we're not gonna be able to get in the game. We're just gonna watch it at a bar outside or something because tickets are gonna be $1,000. But yeah, I mean that's not good for the Warriors who are trying to keep that. I don't think they were going to be able to make a push into the top six, but if they wanted to try to, get a higher seed, 7, 8, or 9, like with Steph out, definitely makes it a bit more difficult. And they're
It's
on a
going to be
two-game
a
losing
tough
streak.
a
So,
tough journey for the Warriors.
absolutely. A team that doesn't really, the journey won't be as tough,
Yes.
is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Although
Uh,
Donovan Mitchell has been out for a few games. He received a platelet-rich plasma injection on March 4th. 'Cause
PRP.
he had a left knee bone bruise. But he's been kind of sidelined for the past few games. And they lost the game, but they did beat the Celtics, and all I can say is Dean Wade is him.
Yeah, yeah, he was already out for a couple games, then got this PRP that kept him out for 3 more games, I think, maybe
Yeah,
4 more games. So he's missed like 5 or 6 games. And yeah, Dean Wade, 21 points, I think, in the fourth quarter, five for
yeah,
five from three. A giant
crazy.
comeback to beat the Celtics there. Just nuts. You love to see that. You love to see a guy like that on a stage like that, against, the team that has been destroying the NBA basically.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was awesome to see. Very happy for him. Good gritty win by the Cavs. Celtics clutch time offense been questionable lately.
questionable.
It's been
Yeah.
questionable.
Their fourth quarter has been a little because they were leading in the fourth quarter, and then they let the Cavs come back. And I thought it was very interesting that Joe Mazzulla didn't call it. There was like 19 seconds left. They had two timeouts. They didn't call a timeout. Cavaliers were up by one, I think one or two. I think it was one, and they decided just to go with it. And I get it. I just read the Phil Jackson book, and he talks about how like you have to, as a coach, recognize when your players are feeling it, like they know what they're doing and they're
Hmm.
going to get the job done, so they won't call a timeout. But when your team was winning by like 12 and then they're losing by one with 19 seconds, I feel like that was a time to call a timeout. But
Drop a
um,
play, I think.
drop a play. Yeah, I think that's yeah. And, you start at the half court, and you have 19 seconds to kind of get a good look off. Instead, they just resorted to Jason Tatum ISO, and then it was a like a Oh, I remember I was texting you about this. It was like a corner of the key jumper, and he kind of kicked his leg out,
Hmm.
and initially was a defensive foul. Then the Cavaliers challenged it, and It was not an offensive foul, but they were saying there would have been no contact if Jason Tatum didn't kick his leg out. So it was a jump ball at center court,
Yeah, that would have been
which is
a
also
very
interesting.
annoying way to lose the game after a big comeback, and then you get a foul call like that.
Yeah, and it was like you could tell Darius Garland was and he was also the one defending Jason Tatum, interestingly enough. Probably got the switch. But he did everything he could not to touch him or do anything. That's the last thing you want to do is like foul somebody in the last shot. So
I think this game compared with the Celtics Nuggets game, which I'll talk a little bit about later, when we get into power rankings, has closed the book on Jason Tatum's MVP case. I think it's done. I think he's out. I don't think
yeah, I
there's
never
a
really
chance.
considered it. I think the Celtics are the way they are because as a team, very
Yeah.
much a team ball, and I love that. Like it's not really one person doing it, which is it's nice. Like I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Jason Tatum is young; he'll have time to like prove he's an MVP. So, but yeah, Donovan Mitchell still out for the Cavaliers. You know who else is out?
Who else is out? The man on this jersey right here. That would be Russell Westbrook. One of the reasons I wore this today, because he underwent a successful surgery on his fractured left hand on March 4th. The hope for them is that he returns for the start of the playoffs. So yeah, he's been decent off their bench, except I mentioned last time he had a couple weeks, maybe a month there, where he was resorting to LA Lakers Russell Westbrook taking mid-range jumpers and turning the ball over for no reason. So hopefully he comes back and contributes in a positive way. And I think the Clippers will need that bench creation for a deep playoff run. So yeah, hope all is well. Hope he comes back, and not the only player that uh, a team is looking forward to coming back at the start of playoffs.
Absolutely not. This one actually hurt me the most seeing that this happened.
Hurt
Just
my
because
soul.
I'm excited for them. So I mentioned this earlier. Minnesota Timberwolves, Carl Anthony Towns has been diagnosed with a torn meniscus. Is diagnosed the right way to say that? Like
Um,
it sounds
yeah,
so like
it's like I guess it's like he
it's
just
been
has it.
determined he
He just
has it.
has
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just okay. Anyways, torn meniscus in his left knee. He's getting surgery. He'll be reevaluated in a month, and hopefully he comes back before the playoffs. And I know, looking at your power rankings, this affected your rankings
It
quite a
sure
bit.
did. It sure did.
It did not to me because I have watched a bit of Timberwolves this year, and I just think that even without Cat, like their defense is still very solid, and I think that'll win them a lot of games. But obviously, they're not the team they are without Cap. Like they don't have 44 wins without Cap. So right now the West is all basically tied up for first. It's Thunder, Wolves, and Nuggets. Timberwolves will fall down for sure now without Cap compared to the other two teams, but I just hope he comes back sooner rather than later and looks like himself and can prepare for a deep playoff run.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting. A couple things here. I think Cat is this his ninth year in the league. This will be the first time he's ever had surgery at the NBA stage,
crazy.
which is interesting. So he's been, a bit of an Iron Man health wise, but he has been out for different personal reasons. I know his mom passed away from COVID. That was a
Hmm.
big story a couple of years ago, and he's had different personal things here and there, minor injuries here and there. Nothing ever to this size. And you just hate to see it because, like you mentioned, the Timberwolves are up there at the one seed basically at the time of this injury. And, it's the first time since like Kevin Garnett's MVP season in 2004 that there's like real expectations, real, playoff hopes for this team making a deep run. Cat made the All-Star team this year, which I don't think either of us had him on our ballots, but he was like first, second guy out. So
Yeah.
he's had a really good season, but it sucks to see it. Like you said, it hurt you, right? It's like, oh wow, this team was kind of putting the pieces together and
Hmm.
making the Cat Rudy Gobert thing fit, and everything was kind of coming together. So this sucks. Torn meniscus, sometimes that's a year long injury. So this must be, I'm no doctor, but this must be like a partial tear or something that they can
Yeah.
kind of temporarily fix, and maybe then readdress in the off season. I know I want to say like Robert Williams last year had something like this where he had like a part meniscus tear and I think they opted to not do surgery because it was going to put him out for like way too long. So yeah, I don't really know because if it's like I don't think it can be a full tear. I don't think you can just play in a month after a full tear meniscus.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So yeah, it must have been something that's minor in terms of meniscus tears at least. Um, but yeah, hopefully he does come back at the start of the playoffs. Based on it depends on the matchup, but I think the Timberwolves could make it through a first round matchup without Cat.
Yeah.
But past that, I think it gets a little dicey.
So right now, let's say if the playoffs, happened today, the seventh seed, not saying that, because of the play-in tournament it might be a little bit different, but right now the Wolves would be playing the Phoenix Suns.
Oh,
So
ah,
yeah, it's like, do you think without Cat they
oh,
beat the
that's
Phoenix
tough.
Suns? That's a tough one. It's
That's
tough.
it's a tough draw.
Yeah, and then after that they would play either the Clippers or Pelicans,
Yeah.
and probably Clippers, but anyways, like none of these teams are going to be easy to beat, especially without their second best player. But just hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. You know what player is not going to be back sooner rather than later?
Yeah, that would be a friend of Cat, I believe. Ben Simmons. I think they're relatively close friends. I remember there was a clip a long time ago. I think it was Ben Simmons and Cat were playing Fortnite. And Ben Simmons or Cat was like, I'm gonna get off. I gotta go play tomorrow. And Ben Simmons said, Who do you play? And Cat said, Hawks. And Ben Simmons said, You can play with more. And then like Ben Simmons and then they lost to the Hawks in the conference finals or whatever. And I remember people bringing that back up. I don't think it was like that same year, but
Yeah, that's funny.
it was just a funny clip. But yeah, he was out for the remainder. Ben Simmons out for the remainder of the season. He's going to be consulting with specialists and explore treatment options for a nerve impingement in his lower back. And I found the stat that I thought was interesting. So in the past three NBA seasons, all 82 game seasons, after the season, he'll have played a total of 57 games out of the possible what is that, 246, three total NBA seasons, and all while making $106 million because he is on a max contract,
That's the
and
life.
still will be until next year. So I have a question for you regarding this. Is this it? Is it over? Is the NBA career of Ben Simmons, after next year, is he retired? Like, is he not getting signed anywhere? Does someone see the
I,
potential and throw like a minimum at his way? Like what?
I was literally just about to ask you that. It's so funny. I was like, what after this contract, was he just going to sign for a minimum somewhere? I think that's the case. I think he will sign for a minimum. I think someone will take a flyer on him, because at his best, he is a great playmaker, defender, and if that's what you need, Ben Simmons can be that guy. But obviously, you want to make sure he's 100% healthy because you don't want him to play what's 57 games spread out across 3 seasons, like 20 games a season. It's like, what is that going to do? Nothing really. So, I don't know. I don't know. I hope he finds the treatment he needs, and I hope he gets back in the NBA. And I doubt he will be back to that rookie of the year level he was at,
Nope.
and
I
with
already gave
the
up on that a long
yeah,
time ago.
yeah, exactly. But I feel like he could still be some nights like if he's fully healthy, could be like a triple double threat if he's a really good playmaker defender. It's totally possible.
Look out. You got 6, 8, and 9. Look out,
Yeah,
guys.
I mean. Be that it's close to triple double. That's so interesting. But um yeah, it's probably if I'm gonna have to put money on it, I'd probably say that he will try to come back in the NBA, but I feel like it might be on a minimum for a season or two, and then probably that's it. That'd be my guess.
Look out for the Ben Simmons off-season workout videos. They always come around. It's like, uh-oh, look out. He's
He's
back.
sinking threes. He's making threes.
Um,
And you
yeah,
know who isn't gonna be back? Oh, never mind. Okay,
but
I'll
I
stop. I was
I
gonna do a transition.
I was gonna say it's interesting to think about the career arc of Ben Simmons. Because I don't think you can really make a case that he's like the biggest bust in NBA history because you have guys like Anthony Bennett, who's drafted #1 overall by the Cavs, and he was like barely ever even a role player, whereas Ben Simmons had like a couple years where he was like an all-star caliber player.
Yeah.
Um, but the fall off has been so dramatic. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if that's ever happened that quickly. Like usually there's a gradual fall off, and I don't know if it's the injury was that bad or he's not trying as hard. I don't know. It's really hard to kind of piece back everything that kind of happened. Like So they
It all goes
lost.
back to the past, to
It all goes back to
Batiste
the
debut.
Hawks. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it is interesting when you look at it, and
It's like if Ben Simmons was a stock, like you'd be bankrupt if you invested in Ben
yeah,
Simmons. Like
that's
it's over.
yeah. You know who else is whose stock is out for the rest of the season this year?
Who is that?
Another Benedict Mathurin on
Oh,
the
good one.
Indiana
That's a good one.
Pacers. Thank you, thank you. He is going to undergo season-ending surgery to repair a torn labrum in his right shoulder. Yikes.
Looks like John
Hopefully,
Morant.
yeah, hopefully he makes a full recovery soon, and he should be back by next season. So the Pacers
Tough
will be
love.
without Mathurin this
Number
postseason.
number one offense in the NBA. And
Yeah.
that's a talented scorer. Rising Stars MVP, Benedict Mathurin.
Absolutely. I know it affected our power rankings a little bit. We'll be talking about that very shortly. We still have that to talk about. So,
I know.
I know.
Are you like, hurry up, stop talking about everything for so long?
No, 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 no. I'm just more like, what's going on with Yusuf Nurkic?
So bad. Anyways, Yusuf Nurkic. Now that you brought him up so casually, on March 4th, he had a career high and single game Suns record 31 rebounds against the Thunder. The Thunder cannot rebound, by the way. This was the concern for
Yeah,
not having a big man. And the Suns lost. They still lost by 8. So
yeah.
31 career rebounds, not enough, Yusuf Nurkic. But that's not the only Suns record that was broken. You want to tell me another Suns record that was a single game Suns record that was broken?
Of course, Bucks legend Grayson Allen,
Ah,
who's now on the Suns,
who's now on
hit
the
a
Suns?
single game Suns record of 7 threes in the first quarter against the Raptors on March 7th. And the Suns won. That is just a crazy stat to hit 7 threes in one quarter.
In the
Um,
first quarter too.
yeah, that's just like he just started off hot, and then
I'm going for Kobe's 81. I'm going.
oh my, it's so funny to think about that. I think I brought this up before too on the pod, but like, do you think when a player gets to 80 that he would stop?
No.
Yeah, I think he said that last time too. Um, but yeah, I feel like Grayson Allen would be that guy's like, I'm still going for it.
I'm going.
I'm gonna hit 7 threes in all 4 quarters. So
Oh
it'd
my
be end up with
God.
like 84 points. That'd be insane.
Just hits 28 threes, 28 from 3.
God damn,
The
so
craziest
crazy.
stat of all time.
Um, but yeah, Suns are figuring it out, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you know who else is figuring it out?
Who's that?
The Toronto Raptors.
Ah, are they? Yeah, they're figuring out how to tank. They're doing
Yeah.
a great job of that lately. But they also
Yeah, what else they do?
extended center Kelly Olynyk on a 2-year, $26 million deal. So yeah, they traded that late first round pick for Kelly Olynyk and
Yeah.
Jayak Baji, and I guess they've already decided that Kelly Olynyk is him, and he's gonna be on the roster for the next couple seasons, even though they're going to be kind of a not great rebuilding team. But 13 million a year for Kelly Olynyk seems fine.
Yeah, he's a Canadian legend. I mean, it's only right.
True.
With no team
I
in Vancouver,
forgot they're just gathering all the Canadian legends on their
they
team.
truly are. They got to get Shea and Jamal, which might be a little tough,
And
but
Wiggins. Don't forget
and Lou
Wiggins.
Dort. I'm forgetting Wiggins.
Okay.
Aaron Wiggins, right? That's who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is he,
Um,
I guess he would be. Is he related to Andrew Wiggins? Probably.
I thought they were brothers. Pretty sure
Probably.
they're brothers. Yeah.
Probably.
You know who else is an international player that we're going to talk about, but not
Who?
from Canada?
Where is he from? Do you know?
Do you know where he's from?
I do.
Okay, yeah, I know where he's from. On
He's
three, say it. 1, 2, 3. Australia.
Australia.
Nice. Okay, so we're not liars. Patty Mills. We didn't even say the name. We're just like, Patty Mills waived by the Hawks. Interesting. And signed with the Heat for the remainder of the season, which I don't understand why they waived him because he's a pretty good without like who are the Hawks playing without Trey Young? You got DeJounte Murray, but who's the other guard?
Kobe Buffkin.
Is he doing good?
Yeah.
I feel like Patty Mills is a good backup. So interesting, but I mean, he's going to be a good player for the Heat. So,
Terry Rozier has not been great there, by the way.
yeah, I know. I watched a little bit. I think he's still getting used to it. Well, We'll see. But what do you think of that signing, Patty Mills?
Well, NBA game consists of 10 people on the court at all time, and he can be one of those guys.
Good. Nice. I never thought about it that way. Yeah, true. But you know what I do have been thinking about?
What's
The
you are
power
you
rankings
you're
for the
trying to
remainder of
fly
this
through this episode.
season. I'm not trying to fly through it. I just want to get to the power rankings because I think this is what the meat
Oh.
of all the
This
talking
is
is
the
going to
meat.
be.
This is the
The
entree.
potatoes.
You've
This is
had your
the
appetizer.
you
Uh,
had your egg
you
rolls.
won't have dessert because we don't have anything after this. But you,
Yeah.
you, this is the main course. This is what you clicked on the episode for. You looked at the title. You said power rankings. Ooh, okay, okay. Let's see
Oh,
what these two guys have to think. So yeah, I'm gonna lay it out here real quick. Basically, the concept of this, I texted Dom and I said, let's do power rankings for the rest of the season. And I told him my thought process, and I don't know if his was the same, but my thought process, at least for the top half teams, are who has the best chance to win a title, um, and makes it far in the playoffs. And then for the bottom half, it was like who loses the most, that because that's going to be the bottom because they're not making the playoffs. So it was something like that, and you take into consideration their current records and stuff, but more than that, it's who does best from today, March 10th, until the end of the NBA season, essentially. So the old stuff is kind of thrown out. You do take it into consideration when making the power rankings, but it's not, inherently like, oh, this team is number one, therefore they're number one in the power rankings.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had the same kind of process. I think mine was a bit more as it always is with me. It's a bit more like feeling based and like eye test based instead of like I didn't look up stats or anything.
I didn't
I
really look
did,
up stats either.
yeah. Well, no, I'm not saying that you did. I feel like you have a better understanding of like how teams are more detailed than I do. But I stand by my power rankings, and I find it interesting that we agreed on quite a bit, mostly the bottom, very easily,
Yeah, in
and the
the in
very
the
tip.
top 20, we had two teams that we agreed on, in the
Yeah,
exact placement. So that's pretty wild.
yeah, but it is crazy even to like have a team in the middle. We have the same um kind of ranking for them. So
Our
I
biggest gap was 10.
Yeah, and who was that?
We'll get
Oh, we'll
there.
talk about it. We'll talk about it. Yeah. I see quite a few. This is going to be, oh, I see it. This is going to be very interesting. But again, like, so we considered, players who will probably be back for the playoffs. So, Cat, Embiid, Steph, Donovan Mitchell, definitely all back and healthy. Am I missing anyone that
Uh,
like make a difference?
Julius Randle.
Oh, OG. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so yeah, for me it was I think those are the hardest teams to rank. Specifically the 76ers, the Timberwolves, the Knicks. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty revolving around their injuries. Like the hope is that they're back for the playoffs, but we don't know that they'll be back for the playoffs. So that kind of affected my rankings at least for those teams, and I definitely, laid it out in front of me going through 30 teams, and then I did a lot of rearranging. Uh,
Gotcha.
and some of the close ones, I basically thought, I have this team at 4, this team at 5, for example. Who do I think wins in a 7-game playoff series? And that's how
Yeah.
I kind of broke those tiebreakers. And a lot of it, yeah, I was just thinking about who they have now, how they've played in their last however many games, you know, so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into it, to go from 30 to 1. We have some ties. We're gonna do some live tiebreakers. Um, I don't know how we do a live tiebreaker for 5 teams that are all in the same exact position, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we cross that bridge when we get there. Okay.
But
Uh,
yeah, let's
but yeah,
let's some of
I'm
these
super
teams
excited.
I think we'll take, 30 seconds on, and some of these teams we'll have to have some debates on. Especially when our
Absolutely.
our rankings get to be, very different. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna write down when we start having the debates. I kind of want to keep track of like what we did decide, you know, the um the official kind of order for the podcast, you know what I mean?
okay. Sure.
I think that'll be
I hear you.
very fun. Okay, so shall we begin from the bottom?
From the bottom,
From
absolutely.
the bottom.
Team, oh, you got it? I got it? Who has it? You want it?
I'll do it. I'll do it. So at the
Okay.
very bottom, we have tied for 30th is
Not
the
tied. Well, like this team is 30th, you know.
this team is 30th. Sorry. So let me my vernacular. This team is 30th. The
The worst
Washington
team,
Wizards.
the
The
Washington
Washington
Wizards.
Wizards. That
Uh,
was not. Do you want to tell me why you put them 30th real quick?
yeah,
Doesn't
so
have to be a
so
long.
Dom and I both had them 30th. And it's just amazing that this team can be this bad when there was another team that lost almost 30 games in a row this season.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, everything this team does is a mess. It's an atrocity. We talked about how they have probably the bleakest future in the NBA, because they just got nothing going on for them. And I think having nothing going on for you makes you want to get the first overall pick. So let's lose a lot. And I think at this point in the season, it'll be a lot of this, and this is the case for the next five teams. I think a lot of this is gonna be like they want to lose because they suck and the season's over.
Yeah. I just going forward because I think this might come up for a lot of the teams. I just do want to say that I don't like the idea of teams tanking, and I understand like the business reason why. Every time a team goes out there, I want them to play to win,
Yeah.
obviously. But the reason a lot of what Damon said, I agree with why I put them 30th. Um, and it's also they are the least cohesive team I've watched this year. I don't think they have an identity. They don't have a resemblance of an identity. And I think until they have that, um, their future does not look
Mm.
as bright as some of the other lower teams, like who I have at 29th,
Mm.
who we both put at 29th. So not a tie. They are 29th. Detroit Pistons. So this is the team that got 26 losses in a row. They tied for the NBA record for
I thought it was
longest losing
28.
streak. 28, probably 28. Um, Definitely not 30. And the reason why they're not last, even though they did have that, crazy losing streak, is because I think they have a brighter future because they do have very bright spots. Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham. I think they just need to figure out how to make them work, and maybe get some more veteran presence on the team, kind of create an identity. Monty Williams created one in Phoenix that went well. Hopefully, they can get players and he can work with veterans to kind of set that identity up in Detroit as well. So that's why I didn't have them lower than because they do have players that have a future that's pretty bright, I think.
Well, not only a future, I think you brought up a really good point. The Wizards don't have an identity, like they're just kind of going out there doing nothing. Whereas I feel like at this point in the season, Monty Williams has finally figured out that Jaden Ivey is a better player than Killian Hayes, who is not on the team anymore, but he was starting over Jaden Ivey at points in the season.
Yeah.
And Cade is kind of finding his rhythm. Jalen Duren, you mentioned, good player. Asar Thompson has been fine as a rookie. Like there's stuff that's happening that I don't think, not even in the future, but just the rest of this season, I think they will have a better product than the Wizards put out.
Yep. All right.
Moving on.
Who's 28th?
Number 28, we again agreed. So far, 3 for 3, agree. 28, the Portland Trailblazers. This team is not fun to watch. I'll tell you what, I mentioned earlier against the Rockets, they were starting it was like Anthony Simons, Delano Banton, Chris Murray, Jeremy Grant, and Aiton, I think, did play in that game. But then off the bench, it was like a little bit of Scoot, a little bit of Duop Reith, a little, some players you've never heard of. Um, yeah, they're just kind of like they're kind of like a G League team with Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton, who doesn't care about basketball. So, um, that's why they're low and they're bad. They have the second worst record in the West, but I think they are kind of, you know, they're you used this phrase last pod. They're running around like chickens with their heads cut off. That's how they play basketball. Um,
Yeah, and like they do have bright spots, like Anthony Simons. I wouldn't give up on Scoot just yet. I think he's figuring out how he fits
I
into the
think
NBA.
I think guards struggle a lot more than other players when transitioning to the NBA.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's just about, really giving into the rebuild. So finding a way to move Jeremy Grant, probably DeAndre Ayton, just something kind of starting over, forming a new identity, a new culture with Anthony Simons, possibly Scoot as the backcourt. And you guys still got Malcolm Brogdon there as a veteran, which I think is cool. So just getting more kind of support like that, and then building. Got Robert Williams, who is out for the season but will come back. He's a great center. So that's why they're not 29th or 30th. Um,
It's interesting because this, like you mentioned, some of those players, and it seems like this team should be better than 28th, but
yeah.
not what they
Yeah.
do in the court.
Yeah, I think also Chauncey Billups is a I don't know too much about his head coach capabilities, but to me he seems like a questionable head coach.
Mm.
Um I never really I'm not super into coaches. I don't know, like, I know that the legends, I don't know why they are, and I know they're smart and things like that, but I just feel like a good coach would be trying to have them play together more cohesively. But I don't know.
And you know
That's just observation.
who is a good coach to me is Taylor Jenkins, and that's the coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. Team number 27 on our list. We both had them at 27. And the Grizzlies story is pretty simple. It's a story marred by injuries. Ja out for the season. Bane was out with an ankle sprain. I think they'll just keep him out for the season. He wasn't supposed to be out for the season. I don't foresee him coming back though.
Yeah.
Steven Adams was out. They traded him to the Rockets. Brandon Clark has been out all season. I mean, they're just missing guys left and right. Marcus Smart was injured for a while there. Jaren Jackson is kind of the last man standing in the rotation, and he's been fine. I think kind of proven though that he is best as like a complimentary guy. Like he
Yeah.
can't be the guy. Same thing probably with Desmond Bane when he was playing. Um, but yeah, this team is. I don't think they're trying to be this bad. They just it's a lost season with all the injuries, and um, they win more than the teams we talked about already because they have Jaren Jackson and some other kind of established NBA players that do roll out there. And Taylor Jenkins, I think, runs a good system, but
Yeah.
um, they've had starting lineups with five players you've never heard of this season. So it's like tough season for them. And I think at this point, they know it's a lost season with all the injuries, so might as well get an asset out of it for next year. I think, the Grizzlies will be nowhere near the spot come this time next year, 27th.
I totally agree with you. Another team that has been kind of riddled with injuries, Charlotte Hornets, we both put as 26th as well. LaMelo Ball has been out for basically the entire season. And basically, when he's out, the Hornets are like, they throw the towel. Like, all right, we're done. We're done trying.
Is he out for
Uh,
the season?
he hasn't been playing.
Yeah, I know he hasn't been playing. I just didn't know he was like out like that.
I think he's just not. They're just not playing him for one reason or another. I don't know why. I don't like him. So, but you know who I do like? Brendan Miller.
Oh, Brandon
I
Miller's
will
been
say it.
good.
Yeah, Brendan Miller's been very good. That makes me happy to see.
Bad take for me. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
I
remember
mean,
our off-season grades take. I really ravaged them for picking him over Scoot. And so
yeah.
far that has looked bad.
Yeah, I mean, I probably was similar because I liked Scoot quite a bit more. I didn't. Brandon Miller didn't impress me at summer league either. So,
Mm.
but I'm glad to see that he's getting his footing. The Hornets are another team that just got rid of PJ Washington. They're kind of a team. They got
Gordon
Grant
Hayward,
Williams. They got rid of Gordon Hayward. So
Terry
I think
Rozier, a lot of
to
guys.
yeah, a lot of guys. So they're just trying to figure out what they are going to be moving forward. I think they definitely believe in LaMelo Ball. They like Brandon Miller. I think Miles Bridges is expiring contract.
Yeah, I
Um,
think he's on like a 1 year deal basically.
yeah, so we'll see if they bring him back.
Trey Mann's been good since the deadline.
Is he on the Hornets? I thought he was on the Spurs.
Trey Mann,
Yeah.
he's a Hornet.
Who am I thinking of? Trey Jones.
Trey Jones. Yep.
Okay.
Um,
You see how much I watch the Hornets.
Speaking of the Spurs, number 25 on our list, San
Boom.
Antonio. So, another place we agreed. So from 30 to 25, we had it in order together in sync, and we did these lists without looking at each other's list,
Crazy.
and we just sent them to each other. So just happened to line up that way, but you're not going to see a lot of that after this. A lot of
Yeah.
we get into a lot of disagreement
We're not
later
going to be
on.
friends after this.
But yeah, the Spurs I had, they actually have the worst record in the Western Conference, but I think um Wemby has just been so good for them, and they, are not playing Jeremy Sohan at point guard. Now they're playing Trey Jones, an
Yeah.
actual NBA point guard. And they've been a lot better since, making that change. And I think Wemby, I was listening to something, I can't remember what it was, but they were saying that where Wemby came from in France, their leagues were like 36 games or something like that. So like for Wemby, this is already like, you know, would
Like
be the
two
end of like a
yeah.
second season for him. So it's, maybe that's affecting the way he's kind of growing and changing. But I think you've seen a lot already his rookie year.
Yeah.
And I think going down the stretch, they have an actual system in place with Pop. They may not win the most games, but I think they look better than all the teams that we've talked about already out there on the court. So
And you mentioned it. I think Greg Popovich is a big part of that as well. Like they have an established coach and identity. The San Antonio Spurs, their system, um, fundamental based, developing players, so definitely like, a brighter spot than like some of the other ones you mentioned just because of that is a
at the
big
beginning of the
reason.
year, they were just playing. They were just doing shit. Now they're actually
Yeah,
like
they're just
playing
trying.
basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, so after the Spurs, our 24th team, this is where we start to disagree a little bit.
Yeah,
Not as much. So the next few teams were pretty close,
yeah.
pretty close. So next, and based on the average that Damon did, is the Raptors.
24th.
So I had them 24th. Damon had them 23rd. So pretty close. I think I had them 24th just because they are they had Scotty Barnes is out.
Mm,
They have a lot of players who haven't played with each other. Like they just kind of came together at the trade deadline, so they're kind of figuring out how to work with each other. So big reason why I had them below. I'm trying to. Oh, I had that's why I put them 24th instead of like 23rd.
hmm
Um, but I mean, I like the Raptors, but they're starting their rebuild, so they're not expected to be any better than that anytime soon. But yeah, what do you think? Are we gonna debate this, or are we just gonna kind of be like,
no, because I think it's we're in the same ballpark. I feel like the Raptors for me. You mentioned the Scotty Barnes injury, which is a good point. I think like the team we're going to talk about next, I had below them. But
yeah,
I think the reason was because the Jazz, not the Jazz, sorry, the Raptors are, um, like they feel like they're doing something. Like Emmanuel quickly and RJ Barrett and Kelly Olynyk, like they feel like they have something there
yeah,
that feels, tangible, like it's gonna work. And I feel like they've been kind of figuring that out, even if it is not necessarily leading to wins. And I just thought for the rest of the season, um, especially because they don't have their pick this year. I think it's top six protected, so they would have to like dramatically tank to just get into that, uh, hold their own pick, which maybe that does happen. Maybe that's what their goal is. I do think they are trying to lose, but they are also trying to like figure out what they have as they're losing. Uh,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, they did go to OT. They did lose in overtime to can't remember. Do you
I think it was the
remember?
Blazers. I could be
It
wrong
was
though.
the Blazers. Yeah, DeAndre Ayton.
It was
Yeah, he kind of
he
came
was
alive.
dominating.
The one time, finally. Um, but yeah, so that's why I have him there. But you make a lot of good points too. But I think it averages 24th. I think that's
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine. I mean, it's one place different than this team I had at 23rd, which is the Utah Jazz,
Okay.
who you had at 22nd. So you had them two spots ahead of the Raptors. I had them one spot behind at 24. The reason I had the Jazz this low is because, like I said, I think they're really trying to lose out here, like they did last year. Last year they were the one seed at like a point in the season, like 15 games in, and they were like, "Wait a minute, what are we doing?" And then they just started losing and losing and losing and losing, and they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Let me read you the starting lineup the other day. It was Chris Dunn, Colin Sexton, Bryce Sensabaugh, Luka Samanic, and John Collins. That's who they
Hmm.
rolled out against the Bulls. And they lost by two. They barely lost, but
So it's more about the
they,
Bulls.
yeah, they I think are, Laurie is kind of just out for no reason. And I think some of their better players are going to get quote unquote rest days here as the season comes to an end. Um, I definitely think the Jazz have a lot to like with their team.
Yeah,
Um, I just think, they know that they're not. I think they could have pushed, the Warriors or something for that 10 spot, but they're 2-8 in their last 10 because they're trying to lose out. So
yeah. I don't think they really have anything to worry about. Well, I don't think
yeah,
the Warriors have anything to worry about right now, but because of that, I think that I'd be more worried about the Rockets for sure.
yeah. So I think the
Um,
Jazz kind of called it. I think they're away from the white flag, and they're gonna
yeah,
they would be higher on my list if I didn't think they were going to try to lose so much here at the end.
that makes a lot of sense, actually. Another team though that's just kind of, losing, winning, who knows what they're trying to do? Brooklyn Nets. So you had them 22nd. I put them as 23rd, average to 22.5. I think I'm cool with where they are at.
Yeah, the
Um,
22nd on the
ano-
list.
exactly. Just another team that has pieces that you can be happy about. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Nick Claxton. But it's like, what is their identity? What is this team? You got Dennis Schroeder at the trade deadline. I think they have a lot of things to figure out. They have a new head coach, or interim head coach, right? Technically.
Yes, yeah, Kevin
Yeah.
Ollie. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
No, no,
So
no confirmation if he's going to be the head coach next season.
yeah, so it's a bit tough to be a winning team when lose a coach midway through the season, which we can talk about a different team later, which
Yeah.
I'm thinking of in particular. But that's just why I had them there. They're not gonna really make a big push. Like right now, they're 11th in the East. They're 4.5 games behind the Hawks.
Mhm.
So it's like, are they going to make that push for the play-in? Are the Hawks going to kind of give up? I don't know. I don't think so. But
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about the NBA that this team is 22nd. Like, man, we have some bad teams in the NBA because the Nets are not good. So it's interesting, and I think, you mentioned the coaching thing we talked about, how I thought it was more of a team building fault than a coaching fault. Because I don't know what you can expect from this team with a lot of fine role players, but not really a guy or two guys to take them over the top. And yeah, we had them one place apart. They're 22nd in our overall power rankings, and it's crazy that there's 8 teams below them. That
yeah.
like that's just the state of the NBA. There's some heavy hitters at the top, and then there's some trash at the bottom, and then there is a middle tier that is, I don't think, very big. I think it's like really good teams, pretty good teams, and
And
then like a
then,
couple of okay teams, and then like trash. Um,
yeah.
and I think this is the last team with the trash tier, in my opinion. I think we're going to get into OK tier
Yeah, I
after
think so
this.
too. We're
And
actually our first tiebreakers too.
our first tiebreaker, we have to debate here. So I'm going to throw out all three.
Okay, I'm already
So
looking at it and okay, keep
just so
going.
just so people know, so we have 3 teams tied for 19, which means we would have to sort it into 19, 20, and 21. But these teams all averaged with a ranking of 20 based on Dom and I. So we have the Rockets, who Dom had 21st. I had them at 19. We had the Bulls, who Dom and I both had at 20. And then we had the Hawks, and that is where Dom and I flipped from the Rockets, where I had them 21st. Dom had them 19th. So we had them all in the same range. We just flipped on the Hawks and Rockets, and that led to 3 teams that averaged out at 20. So yeah, where do you want to start here? Where do you want to go? How,
Yeah,
how
so
do we figure this out?
I'm gonna offer this up because I won't die on this hill as much as I might other ones.
Okay.
And also because I'm looking at it now, and then I didn't know about the Patty Mills thing earlier because I kind of like him coming off the bench for the Hawks. So I'm okay with putting Rockets 19. Your ranking Rockets 19, Bulls 20, Hawks 21. I kind of see that because I think if I'm putting them all, if they those three play like a tournament together,
Mm.
like against each other. I could see the Rockets kind of edging out, although the Bulls have a bit more experience. I just think the Bulls are a bit more have less to prove. They don't really know what they're doing. Where I think the Rockets are a bit more young, gritty. kind of playing basketball. So,
Yeah, for me too,
um,
it was like the Hawks have no Trae Young, and without Trae Young, it's like I don't know how they play basketball.
yeah,
And then the Bulls, of course, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams. I mean, they're missing so many guys. So I
yeah,
think the Rockets are just like playing fine enough. Basically, I think the Hawks at this point don't really care about being in the play-in. I think they will just end up being the 10 seed because everyone below them is so bad.
worse. Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so yeah, that's kind of why the order fell that way for me.
Yeah, and I'm fine with the
Should
way
I
you
should I
put it.
edit this on the fly? Is that what we're gonna
Well, I have it here. I
Okay.
think I want to keep this the way it is because
Okay.
I like looking back at it and whatnot, you know. But I
Oh,
think we can change it a little bit after. But I'm writing it down right now as we kind of go.
got it. So 21st on our power rankings is the Atlanta Hawks. Missing Trae Young for another 3 weeks at least. He had that finger surgery last week. And yeah, like I just said, I think they're just gonna end up being the play in just because there's four teams in the East that are worse than them, and that's about it.
Yeah,
That's the reason. So yeah, otherwise, DeJounte Murray, I think he plays better when Trae Young isn't there, but I don't think the Hawks are as good
yeah,
without Trae Young still. Even though he may be a defensive liability, the offense he provides is just so good. Onyeka Okongwu too. Still, we talked about him in that walking boot last time, so he's
yeah,
been out for them. So they're out some guys. I think if you're the Hawks, you got to think about the future and if Trae Young's a part of it or not. That doesn't really apply to this season, but yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
yeah. And then Bulls at 20 makes sense to us. That's the one we kind of agreed on,
Yeah,
anyways. And then Rockets at 19. I like for the reasons we kind of said. I feel like if you put them all against each other, Rockets could kind of come out on top if needed to.
I feel like especially since the Rockets don't have their own pick, they're just going to compete a little more than these teams.
Yeah.
And they have like a little more, like they have more reason to win. I
Yeah, and also less injury. I mean, like you have Tari out and technically Steven Adams, who's never played for the Rockets, but
Yeah,
basically healthy. Your rotation's healthy, so
yeah.
pretty good too.
The
So
Bulls suck.
next, okay. I got that. I think they know. I think we get it. Next 18th. Interesting that we both put the Warriors at 17th. So we agreed on that, but the way everything kind of averaged out, they come down to 18th.
Yeah.
Right above the Kings, who we have at 17 is about point 0.5 ahead of the average. And I still agree with that. I think the Kings are a
Yeah,
little bit above the Warriors.
you get the minor blemish to Steph Curry here that we talked about earlier in the pod, and I think they just have a lot to figure out with their team, and I think this kind of we start getting into the realm of can this team make a run? And it's like the Warriors would have to win, two playing games, beat the 1 seed, beat the 4 seed or 5 seed, beat the 2 seed. It's like there's a lot they would have to
Yeah.
to overcome. So that's why I have them so low here on the list at 18. I had them at 17. You had them at 17. Like you said, the average brought them to
Yeah.
18. But
Interesting. I put the Kings under the Warriors, but I think I was mostly thinking about playoff experience.
mm,
But we're kind of talking about right now, like end of the season and then into the playoffs. So I was thinking the Kings might kind of dip down a bit.
mhm,
Maybe that's a little bit of me wanting the Lakers to go up a bit so that the Kings dip down a bit.
fair.
Probably a little bit of that in there. But at the end of the day, I do think like in a series, I think the Kings are the better team. I
Yeah.
think the cards didn't fall the right way they wanted to last year, but I think this year, if it happens, I think they just got more chemistry under their belt, and I think they could pull it off.
So
So
yeah, the Kings, you had them at
King
18.
seven, yeah,
I had them at 15. They come out to 17th in our power rankings.
yeah,
Yeah, like you mentioned, these two teams, Kings Warriors, had a close playoff series last year. I think the Kings would probably win that series this year, even though I don't think they have played to people's expectations. I think people expected them to grow. And I think they pretty much played the same, but it
yeah.
looks worse because a lot of other teams in the West got a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kings went from the 3 seed to like I think right now they're the 5 seed or 6 seed or something like that. Um, so they look like they're playing worse, but it's just because they're playing the same and other people
They're
are playing better.
yeah, they're 6 seed. Technically, they are basically tied. They have the same record as the Phoenix Suns, although a split a little bit. Like the Kings are 36-26, Phoenix is 37-27. So
Mm,
one game on either side.
hmm.
Um, I also think the Kings are going to be playing since they both kind of got Sabonis and Fox in particular got robbed for All-Star.
Hmm.
Think they should be, but I think they're playing a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, which I
Yeah.
think makes them a bit more competitive. I think they come out swinging. Fox scored 40 on the Lakers. Sabonis had a triple double. It's just another day, in the office for them.
Just another day in
Um,
Lithuania.
dude, dude, what a good country. We got some good basketball players. What can I say?
Yeah.
Um, but 16th.
Mm.
So
A team that made a dramatic trade with the Kings.
absolutely, and it kind of molded the history, the future for both of these teams
Hmm.
coming into last season, this season of the Pacers.
Hmm.
I had them 15th, you had them 16th. How much did you change the power ranking after you heard about Benedict Mathurin being out?
I didn't.
Okay,
This is
I
where I had them
changed it.
already.
Yeah, I changed it slightly. I think I had them like 14th or something, and I put them down like one.
Mm.
Um, Pacers are very good. Tyrese Halliburton runs an offense amazingly. Number one offense in the league. Benedict Mathurin out. They still have a lot of really good players. They got Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin, Miles Turner. Um, you know, you got Doug McDermott back.
Dougie
The king of
McNuggets.
Indiana. So, I we'll talk about other teams who I think,
They're
have a
better.
better chance than the
Hmm.
Pacers, but I think the Pacers have a very bright future.
Hmm.
And when they're healthy, can be really scary and can be pushing into the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, thinking about the rest of the season, the Pacers just kind of fell here. I started my tier list from number one, and I went that way rather than the way we're presenting it here,
Hmm.
um, which I think is just better getting to the best teams last, obviously.
Yeah.
But starting with the best teams, making the tier list made sense to me. And the Pacers just kind of ended up in this position. I just didn't really think about it too much. I was like, oh yeah, the Pacers are going to be like right here, I guess. And I think, looking back on it, thinking on it, I think really they're number one offense in the league when it comes to playoff time. I think the game slows down a lot. The pace gets a lot slower. It's a
Hmm.
lot more gritty, a lot more physical. And I just don't know if the Pacers are quite cut out for that. Like I feel like a lot of the teams will get to above them could kind of bully them in a way.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of like the Cavs of last year, got just bullied out of the playoffs by the Knicks. Um, Something like that. So I think just maybe the way they play basketball doesn't translate to the playoffs in my head. Um, Not to say it's
Yeah.
impossible, but just when I was kind of making those determinations between these teams in this area, that's kind of what it was for me.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think also you can look back at the in-season tournament. They were able to make it to the finals, but kind of, fizzled out and by the last game um, against the Lakers, which is natural. And I think that's the kind of the same thing that kind of would happen this year. If we're looking at the standings right now, they're eighth.
Hmm.
So they'd probably be going against the Celtics. It's like in a 7 game series, can they edge it out? They'll probably get a win or two, but can they really, make it out of that series?
Hmm.
You don't know. But yeah, I think we have very similar thoughts about them. Also, pretty similar thoughts we have about the Orlando Magic.
15th in our rankings. So yeah, the
Yeah.
Magic, you had 16th, I had 14th. So they averaged at 15 and ended up at 15. I think, they're young, they're inexperienced, but I do think their size lends itself to a playoff environment. Their best players are Paulo and Franz, who are both big wings. They have Jonathan Isaac, who hasn't played a ton, but when he does play, he's awesome on defense.
Hmm.
Wendell Carter has been very good for them. Of course, what they lack right now is consistent guard play. Um, they have Jalen Suggs, who's very good on defense and very good at his role, but they don't have that kind of facilitator to run their offense. It mostly goes through Paulo and Franz. So I think they're missing that. I think that will hurt them a lot in the playoffs. But I do think that surprisingly they're like the 4 seed right now. I think, or the
Yeah,
5 seed.
they are five, but yeah, right behind the Knicks. Yeah.
So yeah, they're higher in the standings than I would think. But when it comes playoff time, I think the teams we'll get to later have probably a better chance in a series since they're so young and haven't really been on the stage with this core at least.
Yeah, I mean, no matter where the Magic ends up, I think it'll be a good series, but I think they're a first round exit for sure, which is great. I mean, for not being in the playoffs or last year, right? Or were they like really low? I don't remember.
They were not in the playoffs.
Yeah, so making that jump is great for them. But I totally agree with you. They need a facilitator. They just lack someone to run that offense. It can get really stagnant, just kind of ISO play between Franz and Paolo, and kind of saw that in like the Knicks game I watched. And
They scored 78 points in an NBA game.
yeah, it's not a lot,
You
not a
need a
lot.
point guard.
You need a point guard, exactly. So we'll see what they do in the
Markel
offseason.
hasn't been that guy, unfortunately.
Yeah, Cole Anthony, Anthony
I
Black.
think Cole Anthony is good in his role as like a scorer
Yeah,
off the bench, but they need
yeah.
like yeah, they need more of a facilitator.
Yeah, totally agree.
They need a Mike
Um,
Conley. They want not Mike Conley, but like a type guy.
a type of my absolutely. Um, Another team, which I would think they'd be a little bit higher when you look at them on paper, but we
Yeah,
kind of both know them. The Pelicans, we have a 14th.
yeah.
I put them 14th. You had them 13th, so relatively the same kind of place. Pelicans are almost flawless on paper. It's kind of scary. But then I've seen the Pelicans play so much in the past few years, and they can really be on or off. And like they have players, Zion, McCollum, Ingram. Like when they're on, they're on, and when they're off, they're just a liability, and they're off. And Zion is a crazy player, but every time I watch him, he just does the same thing every time. It's a little bit like I feel like defenses are kind of he can still be a great scorer, but where other teams are finding ways to kind of be able to stop him. Ingram is kind of hard to stop. McCollum's hard to stop. They have great role players: Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Valanciunas, like a bruising center. But it's hard to see how this team can be successful in the postseason past the first round. Like I don't think
Hmm.
they've passed the first round in the last few years. I know they played the Suns. They lost to the Suns. Um, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? I just don't know. I just see the other teams being able to just play better.
Yeah, for me, this team just doesn't gel. I don't think it makes sense. Like they have pieces, they have good pieces. They have Zion,
Mhm.
they have Brandon Ingram, they have Valanciunas, they have McCollum, they have Jose Alvarado, Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels, like a lot of good names. Even Jordan Hawkins has been good as a rookie. Trey Murphy is awesome. Love him as a player. Like so many good players, and it just doesn't make sense all the time on the court. Like sometimes it does, and I think the weird part about this team is that it usually makes sense when one of their star players is out. Like Zion's
Yeah,
out, and you plug Trey Murphy into the offense. The offense, I think, makes more sense and works better together. Alternatively, Brandon Ingram's out, and you plug in, another guy off the bench in for him, and then it's all running through Zion. It makes sense. So I think the
yeah,
like you know, Ingram and Zion, I think, is kind of getting to the point that I feel like maybe people were thinking about Tatum and Brown for a while, where it's just like maybe these two can't be the best two on the team and make the offense make sense with both of them. When you think about like really successful teams, championship teams like the Nuggets last year, they got the Jokic Murray, like they complement each other so well. You think about the Bucks when they had Giannis, who's like a big bruiser, and they have Middleton, who's like a shot creator. It's kind of like Zion and Ingram, but Zion is not quite what Giannis is, and Ingram I think is a little more than Chris Middleton is. So it's like doesn't quite gel together well, and that just it like leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I read about it. Like I look at their record and I'm like, okay, and then I like look at their games and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, but in my mind I'm like, I don't like it. I don't
yeah,
know. So it's just off to me. I don't know.
yeah. I was gonna say I think what a lot of those duos that you mentioned that has had a lot of success to me, the difference is the defense.
Mm.
Um, Zion and Ingram are not known for defense. Giannis, beast on defense. Middleton, pretty good. They had Drew Holiday there. I think they had like these premier defensive players. And the
Jokic beast on
Pelicans,
defense.
he's better. He's better than he used to be. But I think that's just a big part of that difference. And I think the Pelicans just have a lot of like I think their role players are easily like B pluses, A minuses. Like they're great, they're good, but they're not like they don't elevate them to the point of like being able to contend further than first round, you know. Like they're definitely good enough to make it into the playoffs. I mean, they're the sixth seed right now, I think. Fifth seed. So like obviously they're good enough to make it into the playoffs, but any other team they go against, I see like it's a first round exit for the Pelicans.
Yeah, I think they need to choose one of those two guys and
Yeah, I think
figure
so
it out.
too. Who would you choose?
Zion.
I would choose Ingram.
Yeah, I think
I think
Ingram's
we
a little
both
more
have argument.
consistent, but I think
I just don't like
Zion's
the injuries
ceiling is higher.
for sure. I don't like the injury stuff.
His floor is lower and his ceiling is higher.
Yeah,
You just have to bet on the ceiling, I guess.
yeah. Which I understand and doesn't put past the Pelicans to do something like that.
That's not the only thing we disagree on. We also have our
The
biggest disparity on the list here.
biggest disparity.
Um,
I'm interested. I want to talk about this.
yeah, so at 13th at our rankings, we have the 76ers. Dom has them at 8th. I had them at 18th. 10 ranking disparity. I'll do it quickly, I think. So for me, it's I mentioned the hardest teams for me to rank on this list had the biggest injury concerns.
Yeah.
Guy that was winning the MVP award out with a super serious knee injury and has had multiple injuries in the past and has been out for multiple seasons in the past and parts of seasons really worries me. So the Embiid thing, we have not gotten an update since he's been out. We have no idea what he's like. We don't know his status. The hope, hope is that he's back for the playoffs. That's just a hope. The 76ers have been not great since
Hmm.
he's been out. They have slid down the standings quite a bit. Um, I think they're sixth right now,
They are seventh,
seventh. So
but
they're in the
they're tied with the Heat. So
for sixth. Okay, so
yeah,
they're in the play-in race at this point. When earlier in the season it was like Celtics, Bucks, 76ers were the clear top three. So they have slid down quite a bit. And without him, there's no shot basically. So that's why I had them lower than the Warriors, the Kings, the Pacers, the Magic, and the Pelicans. All those teams that we talked about so far. Because I just don't know. I just don't know if Embiid's going to come back, and when he comes back, what does he look like? Is he
yeah.
back 100%? This team has no shot without him. Like Tyrese Maxey has been great. He's not a number one player, and the role players I think have been fine, but they have slid since the Embiid injury, and for obvious reasons. The guy was winning the MVP award, so that was the reason that he was that low in my rankings.
Um, all great points, I have to say. When I was doing the power rankings, I am assuming Embiid's back full health.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming that he's playing almost at the caliber he was before. It's not possible that he will be as good as he was. So I think the team when Embiid is there is scary. I think it's a tough matchup for a lot of teams.
Hmm.
I think they have a really good role players, a lot of really good scoring role players. I think getting Buddy healed, Kyle Lowry to kind of back up Tyrese Maxey was a good move for them. Kelly Oubre has been playing well. Without Embiid, yeah, the Sixers are slipping. They'll probably kind of stay where they are. They'll stay above the Bulls. Maybe Pacers might overtake them. Um, when Embiid comes back, totally different ball game. And that's why I had them. I had them higher than the Lakers. I had them higher than the Mavericks. I had them higher than Pacers, Magic, all these other teams we've talked about. Um, so that's where I stand with that. And it is such an unknown. But I just think if Embiid is back and he's healthy, they have pretty good chance. That's basically it.
Yeah. If that's the case, yeah, my ranking would definitely be different. Would not have been all the way down at 18th. It's just the unknown.
Absolutely. And that makes total sense. I get it. Yeah. I'm definitely more of an optimistic when I'm looking at this kind of stuff.
I kind of do like
Um,
that and they ended up in this middle ground though,
I
because
do
of
like
our
where
our
they are. I
disparity.
Yeah, I think this list that we've kind of put together is a bit more even for
Hmm.
sure. Because I like where they are right now on the list for sure. Um, looking at all the other teams. But like the next team, the best team, the NBA. interestingly enough, we did have them in very similar spots as the Lakers.
The Lakers.
Ending up 12th on our list. I had them at 10th. You had them at 12th. Um, I love my Lakers, and I think there's a lot of good things about them. And I think if there was a bit more time, it's so interesting to say. I think there was more time before like the end of the season. I think they would have figured things out better and been able to get higher seed. The thing is, right now they're sitting at ninth. I don't know if they're gonna pass up the Mavericks or the Suns or the
Mhm.
Kings or any of those other teams. Like they're not that far behind them, but that also means the other teams have to lose. And it's like, are the Mavericks gonna lose? Suns, Kings, like they want to stay, they want to keep winning. So that's why I think they're gonna kind of stay where they are at ninth. I don't think they'll go lower. Um, I think the postseason's totally different. I think they are seasoned in the postseason, and like last year, if proves anything, they can make it to the conference finals. But then the conference finals, who are they meeting? The Nuggets. They meeting the Thunder. It's a tough matchup for them. They're a little bit older than these other teams. Don't have the history the Nuggets do. They don't have the young tenacity the Thunder do. Um, so that's why I think they kind of ended up where they did. Is that how did you determine 12th for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had the Lakers even higher than 12th. And then I was like, I can't do this because, right now you mentioned they're 9. You don't think they'll get higher than that. So that means the best possible case scenario is they win out in the play-in, which makes them the 8 seed, and then they draw the 1 seed, whoever that is. So right now it's most likely the Thunder or the Nuggets, and then that's a hard matchup. So I was just like, man, I cannot see. I can see them beating the Thunder more so than the Nuggets, but like that would be a really tough path to making it through the playoffs. And I do think they've been playing better since like the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And they've kind of been coming together. Interesting that, we both had them above the Pelicans, the Kings, teams that are higher in their conference, above the Magic, who are the 5th seed in the East. Um, but yeah, I guess just LeBron and Anthony Davis, you can only doubt them so much.
hmm
But yeah, this was a tough team to rank too because they're low in the standings, but like in terms of postseason success, I believe in them more than some teams that are higher in the standings.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Yeah, they will always kind of come alive or turn it on a bit more in the postseason, which is just to expect. And I think other teams get that too. So that's why, they didn't make it to the finals last year or something. But, like you said, they end up the eighth seed. Nuggets, I mean, tough matchup for them. Thunder, possible, but even then, out of 7 games, might go to 7 games.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, another disparity we had though was this next team.
Yes, team number 11 on our list, the Dallas Mavericks. Dom had them at 13th. I had them all the way up at 8th. So first single digit appearance. Actually, that's not true. You had the 76ers at 8th.
Yeah.
First single digit appearance for me. But the Mavericks, yeah, I have them at 8th because they have this guy named Luka Doncic on their team who's really good at basketball and is like a top 3 MVP candidate, even though their team is like 8th in the standings. Yeah, and they had I think a really good spurt after the trade deadline when they got PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, and they
Yeah.
were playing really well. And then they had some unfortunate losses. They had the Max Strus game winner. That's tough. There's not a lot you can do about that. And then they had some other losses. They had a bad loss. I don't remember who. It was against like a lesser team that they shouldn't have lost to. But aside from that, I think they've looked pretty good lately, and I really like the team that they put around Luca. And I think the reason I had them all the way up at 8th, you think about single players you don't want to play against in the playoffs. Luca has to be in the top 3 probably. Like that is not a guy you want to have to face and deal with. And he has been a proven playoff performer in his short career, so that's why I had them so high.
Um, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think my biggest reason why I didn't have them higher because I like the Mavericks a lot.
Hmm.
I think I do just have like defensive questions
Mm.
still, with the backcourt of Luca and Kyrie. I mean, impossible to deny like the best backcourt in basketball right now, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but watching the games with them, I think they still lack a defensive edge. And I think that's so important, especially when it comes to the postseason, to really be successful. I don't deny that they will be very good in the playoffs. They're going to make any series challenging. So I liked a lot what they did getting Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. They made a lot of good moves. I just don't. I'm just. I just don't know, like, if they could make it past like a Lakers, in the 7 game, like, or or Suns with like the experience they have now or something. That's just what it kind of came down to for me. Um, I don't hate in this list that they're like one above the Lakers right now. I think they're definitely better than Kings, Warriors, things like that. Um, and obviously I like Luca a lot, and he's proved himself in the playoffs. Maybe we'll get another memeable moment this year. We'll see.
Oh yeah,
And I look like a fool for
and
putting him at 13th,
you'll give
but
me another
he's
shirt.
he's still my MVP. So that's not going to change. No, none of this is going to make change that. Absolutely not. But I kind of agree. Kind of where they are in our list 11th. I think it makes a lot of sense. But you know what my favorite part about this list is?
Oh, what is
The
your favorite part?
the five-way tie for what is it, for sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th.
Yes, so Dominicus and I had five teams that averaged out eighth in the rankings. So what this means is our first five are we'll get to later, but places six, seven, eight, nine, and 10, like you just said, all have the same average ranking. So five teams that we got to go through and we got to battle this out. We got to
Uh,
figure out who goes where,
this is so
who is sixth?
difficult.
Who is 10th? I don't know. It's gonna be tough. Let me say it's gonna be tough. Let me lay out the teams real
Lay him
quick.
out, lay him out, lay him out.
So we have the Cavaliers. Dom had them sixth. I had them 10th. We have the Knicks. Dom had them seventh. I had them ninth. We had the Suns. Dom had them ninth. I had them seventh. So just a switch from the Knicks. We had the Heat. Dom had them 11th. I had them fifth. I had the Heat very high. And then we had the Clippers, who Dom had 12th, and I had fourth, which is our second biggest disparity on this list, aside from the 76ers. So five teams that ended up with an average of eight that we got to go through and parse out. I will say, just on the top of my brain, the first one
Yeah.
that I think I would be more than willing to move up is the Knicks. And that's because Jalen Brunson is back and healthy. And I don't know if I was really thinking about that as much
Mm.
when I was putting it together. I was kind of like Jalen Brunson's questionable, Randall's questionable, OG's questionable. And I was looking at, you sent me the screenshot of you watching that Magic game. I was looking at just the players that were on there, and I was like, oh, this is looking rough. These guys got Jericho Sims coming off the bench right now. Like that's not great. So I feel like that's maybe what I moved the Knicks a lot in this list.
Yeah.
They were going up and down, left and right. They were going all over the place. But I had the Mavericks at eighth, and I had the Knicks at nine. So I could definitely see myself putting the Knicks above the Mavericks, which would make their average higher. You know what I mean?
Right. I see what you're saying.
Uh,
Yeah, I get that. And again, like, this is I was thinking, Randall's back, he's playing well, OG's back, so they have a defensive edge. Jericho Sims nowhere near the rotation. Mitchell Robinson
Mitchell
back.
Robinson,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And then, Hardenstein off the bench. Precious Achua nowhere near small forward. For whatever reason, they listed him as small forward and Josh Hart as power forward, which is what I sent you.
yeah.
But I just have to say that out loud. Like, what doesn't make
Because
any
Josh
sense.
Hart is a rebounding machine.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's a power forward. Anyways, it's okay. I'm over it. I'm over it, obviously. Okay. So this is very interesting. I don't know how to go about doing that. I like that. I I could see me moving up the Heat because I watched them. I haven't. I made this kind of before I watched them in a game recently. I did watch them up against the Nuggets, which they lost, but it was a very good game. And the Heat just have that kind of grinded out kind of game and culture to them. So I could see them being moved up a little bit too.
You know,
Like Heat versus Suns is kind of like I could see the Heat winning in a series against them, you know?
it's crazy that I have the Heat fifth on this on my rankings, but I was just thinking like last year they were the eighth seed. They beat the Bucks. They
Yeah.
beat the Celtics. Like they beat some good teams to make that finals run. And they do
Yeah.
it every year. Every year they just come into the playoffs and smack people around. And they've been doing it in the Jimmy Butler era, since the bubble, really. So it's
Yeah.
like they started doing it in the last 10, they're 8-2. It's like they're ramping up. They're ramping up. Jimmy Butler's starting to play. He literally was like, I don't care about All NBA. He's like already disqualified from All NBA.
Yeah.
Uh, Lack of games played, but he's like, I don't care. It's playoff time, baby. Playoff Jimmy. And Bam, of course, was an All-Star this year. They
Yeah.
had the additions that I still think need to gel with Rozier, Patty
Yeah.
Mills, Duncan Robinson. It's been good for them. Tyler Hero has been whatever.
Tyler Hero, is he injured? He was on the bench when I watched him. I can't remember what's going on with him.
Ah.
Cool. Cool.
Jaime Jaquez Jr. has been good
I
as
mean,
well
it's been
too.
very good. Yeah.
So
So
it's like the
that's
Heat are just it's the team in the playoffs that is like, oh, we gotta fade
you don't
the
want to, yeah, you
Heat.
don't want to, yeah.
Jesus.
But okay, so okay, I like this. We're just kind of talking right now, right? We're just kind of figuring out about these teams. Um, I can't, I can't put Clippers higher than 10. I can't.
You have him at 12. I have him at 4.
I don't. It all comes down to a very simple thing, and
What's
it, I don't trust them.
sure.
I don't trust them. I trust Kawhi Leonard,
I trust Kawhi Leonard. Playoff Kawhi Leonard,
but
the guy that
I do not trust James Harden.
that guy that
I do,
cooked Luca. That guy
I do,
cooked Luca that in that game 7.
I don't know if he could cook them this year, though. That's the thing. Like, it's been a while since we've seen the playoff Kawhi. I don't trust Paul George. I don't trust James Harden.
I
Westbrook will
trust Paul
come.
George. Paul George was the guy on that conference finals Clippers team.
Look. Anyone, you're watching them. You're looking at the stats. Paul George, yeah, but but like I don't know. I just don't trust them. I really don't. I don't see depth for them. I don't see. I've watched quite
They
a
have a
bit of
lot of depth.
Clippers. Not to me,
They
man.
got Norman Powell. They got Amir Coffey.
Norman
Come on
Powell is
now.
sixth man of the year, but besides that,
He's been so good. They
I
got
just don't.
Daniel Tice. Come on.
Dude, they got Mason Plumlee. When I went to that game and he started, I was like, dude, they're gonna wreck the playoffs this year. It's just like, okay, let's name them out. Cavaliers better than the Clippers. They just are.
I am emotionally scarred from the Cavaliers getting absolutely smacked last year in the playoffs by the Knicks.
But I think they're a bit more think they're more experienced in there. I think, but more ready for it now.
Mhm.
Knicks better than the Clippers. I think they're better than the Clippers.
Okay,
Fully healthy,
sure.
better than the Clippers. Suns better than the Clippers. I stand by that. And the
I
Heat,
I I had the Suns at 7th. I had the Suns pretty high up too. So
I know, but
that
you
one's
had
not
them
a.
fourth. You had Clippers at fourth,
I had them
my
fourth.
dude.
They went 25-5.
That means nothing. That's regular season. Come on, dude.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Like I said, I just don't trust them. I cannot wait for the first round of the playoffs, and they just get fuck and 5 or 6 games just get destroyed by whoever
I
they play
think there's
against.
some personal bias happening here.
Look, if there was personal bias, the Celtics, I wouldn't have put the Celtics first. I'm giving it up,
Spoiler,
but
spoiler.
spoiler, it's a spoiler, but just saying, if it comes down to that, I just really don't trust them. I can't have them higher than ninth. Then, like, I, who would you have below and out of these? Who would you have 10th? Let's just try. Let's just try.
I
We're
mean,
looking at it right now. We're kind of like figuring it
it,
out. We're
it
talking about it.
it sounds like okay. It sounds like the Knicks. I have said I'll move up, and the Heat you have said will move up. So
Yeah.
that sounds like that's going to be kind of 6-7. Um,
Okay.
maybe the Suns. I think also, you know, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I'm scared of in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Only
Exactly.
reason I didn't have the Suns higher is because they have no depth. They
Yeah.
got none. They got no players on their team.
Yeah.
Um,
They got Saban Lee starting, so that means anything. Or off the bench, but still.
Detroit Piston legend, number
Absolutely.
38, Saban Lee.
Number 38, the best number ever.
Um, so yeah, their top end talent is undeniable. We talked about two single game Suns records today, which is interesting. Um, I'm okay with the Clippers at 10, I guess. As long as the Cavs are right behind them at 9, I think that's the other obvious team here to me that it's not as good as the other three.
I can live with that.
Okay, so we're gonna have the Clippers at 10.
Okay.
We'll have
Clippers at 10.
The Cavs at 9,
Cool. I see that.
which we didn't really talk about them that much, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, I think, Darius Garland, Donovan
I
Mitchell, you got Jared Allen, you got Dean
and I
Wade. Come
and
on.
it's crazy because I think the Cavs are like the 2 seed right now. Um,
They hold up. I was on the Maverick stuff. Give me a second.
one second,
Ooh.
1 second.
They are second right now.
Yeah, they're second in the East, which is crazy. And it's like Donovan Mitchell's out. They won the game against the Celtics without him. Um, they're piecing back in their lineup with Darius Garland. Evan Mobley, I think's out again. Um,
I thought I saw him. I'm pretty sure he played the game against the
Maybe he
Celtics.
was just out for like a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it's just for them. I think it's kind of like how I feel about the Pelicans. Like how does their team translate to the playoffs?
yeah,
Their team just like doesn't make a lot of sense. They have like two centers that they play, and then they have like two point guards that they play,
yeah. No,
and
I
then
get
they
that.
have whoever they decide to throw in at small forward. I guess Max Strus is probably the guy right now.
Yeah,
And I like their players. I just think like they're like playoff like their team in the playoffs. I think is just not going to hold up against some of these other teams.
sure.
So I guess especially Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are both 6 feet tall. Like that's a big worry.
Defensive liability for
Yeah.
sure.
Even though they have Jared Allen, Evan Mobley backing them up, who are both very good. It's just like you put Devin Booker on Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, and he is hitting nonstop
Yeah,
mid-range
he's
jumpers over
scoring
those
like
guys.
35
Yeah,
easily.
Jalen
Yeah,
Brunson killing those guys.
yeah,
Anybody on the Heat killing those guys. So, yeah,
yeah.
I think I'm okay with the Clippers at 10th and the Cavs at ninth. I think the Clippers are better, but that's okay. I'll concede them at 10th and the Cavs at ninth.
We got
Uh,
8 Suns. Is that what, or we're still talking about what's going on with
yeah, we're
these?
trying to figure out.
Okay, so we got Knicks, Suns, Heat.
I think I'm sitting here debating the Suns and Heat, which makes me think the Knicks have to be at sixth.
Um, oh, you think Knicks would be higher? They'd be at
Yeah,
sixth?
I think they're higher than both of those teams.
So we're gonna have them higher than what we thought.
Yeah. Well, so I think about the Heat
Okay,
at
fully healthy. Yeah, again, I gotta
yeah,
remember. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like I think about the Heat at fifth and the Suns at seventh, and I had the Knicks at ninth. But I I'm debating like naturally I'm debating the eighth position, and the Suns and the Heat are the two teams that came to my mind. So
Okay.
it's like I guess I think the Knicks are better. Like that's
Okay.
just my mind just automatically excluded them from thinking about them at that position, even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
I have them
No,
lower.
I agree with you. I mean, it is tough. Like
It's tough with the injury. The
it
injury,
really
I
is.
don't
It's
know.
all, and in a perfect world, like just trying to imagine that. Like I see that. I mean, I think I had the Knicks higher than I did have mine of the Suns. Um, and the Heat. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
If yeah. So we'll put Knicks at sixth, and then I think Heat above Suns
Okay. So
because I like the kind of gritty, the depth, the kind of you have defenders that could guard Book, you have defenders that can guard KD. I think it makes a bit more sense to me.
got it.
Cool. So we got Suns at eight, Heat at seventh, Knicks at sixth.
All right. We
Cool.
figured it out.
Yeah, we got another disparity though coming
Uh,
up.
yeah. So
Um,
now that we figured
yeah,
out that disaster,
yeah. Now let's figure out the next one.
well, there's no tiebreaker, but it is just a big disparity that we can talk.
Yeah. It's Timberwolves at fifth. We got Timberwolves at fifth.
Coming in at fifth, baby.
So I'm assuming Cat's back and he's playing pretty well. I like them a lot. Again, even without Cat, I think the Timberwolves have a great defensive core.
Hmm.
And I think that's what it comes down to for me. Naz Reid is coming off the bench. He's going to be playing instead of Cat, and guess what? Great NBA player.
Yep.
So like that's why I'm not worried too much about them. I'm worried about like how long they can sustain it,
Hmm.
And I don't know like what the schedule is looking like, but I still think they have a really good chance of staying at the top. I feel like they will. Right now, they're tied for second, and I could see the Nuggets probably overtaking it, the first seed. I think they're kind of on a tear right now.
Yeah.
And I just don't see any other teams kind of. I think they'll probably stay around third in the West.
Yeah.
Clippers are currently fourth,
Yeah. That
and
top four is kind of solidified.
yeah, and the Clippers have a tough schedule ahead, so that's why I just think the Timberwolves have a good chance of staying at third, and I like their team a lot. But why do you have them at 11th? Is it because of Cat?
I had
Maybe.
them at 11th. I had them very low in
Yeah,
comparison to you. Yeah, again, another team that went up and down a lot on my list, with the cat injury. It was really making me think. And it was interesting 'cause last time you asked me, who'd get upset, the Thunder or the Timberwolves, and I was like, probably the Thunder. And
yeah.
then I have them way higher than I do on the Timberwolves, so we haven't even gotten to the Thunder yet. Um, but yeah, the cat injury is part of it, and I think it's not because I think Cat is some like all-worldly player. It's really because you mentioned their defense, number one in the league. Rudy Gobert is going to win his fourth Defensive Player of the Year. Jaden McDaniels, stellar defender, and has been buying in on defense. That stuff I think will stay. Um,
Let's mention the block while we're at it, and we're talking
let's
about
mention the
defense.
block. Yeah,
Yeah, we
my
haven't talked
God.
about it yet. Yeah, so if you haven't watched this yet, very close game. Pacers, Timberwolves without Cat. Very recent game happened this last week. Wolves are up by two, 113, 111. Pacers on a fast break. Very good pass, I think, from Halliburton to Aaron Neesmith. He
Mhm.
was, yeah, goes up for this really high like layup. It's gonna go in, but someone decides to stop him, and he flies 35 feet in the air, seemingly. Anthony Edwards hits his head on the backboard and the rim to block this ball and win the game to seal the win.
Yeah, and he
Crazy.
he was so high. I don't know if I've ever seen someone that high in the air before. It was, it reminded me in a way of the John Morant block
That's exactly what I was gonna. Yeah,
at the Lakers game that you were at.
I was at. It's
Um,
pretty
but
crazy.
man, he was so high in the air, blocked it, hit the ground, and popped up so fast, and was like, ah, like freaking out because he made that block, and it was a crazy play. Go watch that play for sure if you haven't seen it, because
Yeah,
it's like, man, basketball players really are athletes, huh? Like,
yeah.
Jesus, that was imagine that was the Game 7 LeBron Iguodala block right there.
Literally, yeah.
Something like that. That's kind
Um,
of how it felt. It was just
yeah.
intense.
Yeah, I just love again like the fact that he's buying into the defense. Like you love when a player is just reacting that passionately about defense. I mean, it did win the
Oh
game
yeah,
for them. So,
yeah.
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but yes,
How dare you?
they are great on
Um,
defense. Number one. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're great on defense. I think that'll translate into the playoffs, especially as the game slows down. What I worry about with the game slowing down is their offense without Cat. I just think it limits them a lot. I know Mike Conley has been very good facilitating for them this year. Rudy Gobert has contributed more on offense than most years of his career, but I just worry that without Cat, Jaden McDaniels is not a great offensive creator. It's going to be a lot on Anthony Edwards' shoulders.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is easier for teams to kind of scheme for when you don't have to worry about that number two option as much. Um, and I know
Are you afraid?
sorry,
Sorry, you keep going. Sorry.
I was gonna say I know Nas Reed kind of plug and play as a stretch big as well. I don't think, of course, he's to the level of player as Cat. I do. He's shooting like 40% from three, like the guy could shoot, but in terms of creation, I don't think you're giving him the ball and he's doing some sort of moves up top and then shooting. Um, he's more of a catch and shoot guy. So, yeah, I just worry that like their offense will get kind of stagnant in the postseason. Um, and if teams kind of put their best perimeter defender on Anthony Edwards, that their offense will kind of falter. That was like the biggest concern I had, why I had them so low with the cat injury, because We mentioned a torn meniscus. Like, hopefully he's back in a month for the start of the playoffs, but who knows?
Exactly. You make a lot of great points. But hath thou forgotten about Mike Conley and Wizards legend Monte Morris?
Yes, I know. Two good facilitators. There's not a lot of creation. There's not a lot of.
Agree. Yeah, and I totally agree with you there. They do not have the players. I thought they had Shake Milton, and I think he was a bit more of a creator.
Mhm.
No longer on the team. It was before the cat injury and everything, which I think was the right move at the time, for sure. But now you kind of wish you had one more person on the team that could just make, score their own buckets. But I think that they will be able to make it work. But they ended up fifth.
Yeah, with all the
I think
massive tiebreakers we had, they ended up fifth anyways.
yes,
Not
yes.
like my 11th ranking even mattered.
But I'm excited for them. That's for sure. Very
Yeah.
excited for them this year. See what kind of happens with them.
I'm also excited for the one seed currently, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who ended up fourth on our list. You had them fourth. I had them sixth, a little lower.
Hmm.
But they did end up fourth. So yeah, the Thunder, young, exciting, one seed, like we mentioned, all their pieces are there. I think they're running exactly what they want to run. They run, you know, um, Josh Giddey is kind of the only non-shooter in their starting five, and then off the bench they have some good guys. They have Cason Wallace. They have Gordon Hayward, who hasn't done anything since getting traded to that team. Um,
Yeah.
they have, Aaron Wiggins, but really it's their. I don't know why those are the bench players I mentioned. Those are like not
Isaiah
eligible
Joe.
players.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say Isaiah
Isaiah Joe,
Joe.
Kenrich Williams, actual bench players. I should have probably mentioned.
Yeah.
I just mentioned like random players instead.
Yambo. Yeah, just naming people like on the roster.
um, yeah, they have Kevin Porter Jr.'s contract, so that's you know. um, But yeah, I think the Thunder are going to play the way they want to play. They have a solid MVP candidate, probably number two in the MVP race right now, behind
Yeah.
Jokic, who we'll get into later.
Crazy.
Um, and yeah, I think this is an example of continuity in a young team. A lot of their, it's pretty much all draft picks except for Shea, but Shea was traded there like his after his rookie year, so he's been there for a while.
Yeah.
They're not signing big names in free agency or trading for big names at the deadline. They're getting role players here and there, but a lot of these guys have been drafted into the system under Mark Daignault and just kind of developed and now we're seeing that kind of come to fruition.
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year for sure. We both have
Okay.
coach of the year.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying. Okay, okay, okay. I'm
Who
just
I
making.
predicted to be coach of the year, by the way.
I also said that, but I didn't know his name. I just said Thunder head coach because
Yeah.
I think they're going to be good.
I said the Thunder are
I
going to be the
remember.
seven seed, and this guy's going to be coach of the year, and they're the one seed. So yeah,
I'll never forget. I think I put like Mike Malone because I was like, and then I put Joe Mazzulla because I like the two best teams, West and East, and I put Thunder head coach because I didn't even know his name. I spelled Mazzulla wrong too. I was like, I don't know, I don't know. But yeah, I like the Thunder as the fourth. Again, like are they going to be able to make it far in the playoffs? I hope so. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, but I'm excited to see it. I'm
hmm
here for it,
hmm
for a lot of all the same reasons you said. But I do think these next three teams are a little bit better.
yeah. These are the teams that ended up top three in our rankings, starting with the Milwaukee
Number
Bucks.
three, Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, so I had them fifth. You had them third.
Mhm.
I think I put them fifth just because I just watched them lose to the Lakers. So, but if
He
if
said
Middleton's back,
washed.
I screamed. I opened my window in Van Nuys and started screaming "wash," and people didn't know, like, "Are you washing something?"
Westbrook.
Was I'm just screaming, not even on the team. But the Bucks have a lot of things to be happy about. They have Chris Middleton's back to cash money. I mean, it's going to make a difference. I'm a little bit worried about the depth. They do have Bobby Portis, six man of the year.
Crazy Eye
Uh,
Bobby Portis, baby.
Crazy eyes. Oh God, one of my favorite. He's so funny. He's so interesting to watch as a player. Um, he's just you can tell he's just having fun, and he's
Yeah.
he's also very good at it. So I love that. They have a pretty deep bench. wish you could be a little bit more. I think your starters are locked in, and I think they know the assignment. Brooke Lopez, Giannis, Damian Lillard,
Hmm.
Jay Crowder, I think is starting.
Yep.
And then who's the other one? Who am I missing?
I don't know. I don't even remember who you said. Did you say Pat Connaughton? Did you say Andre Jackson Jr.? Did you say AJ
No,
Green?
who starts though? Is it Pat Connaughton? I don't think he starts for them.
Dude, sometimes.
Damn. Anyways, they have a
Malik
pretty
Beasley. It's Malik
yes,
Beasley.
Malik Beasley, yeah, and he was drilling threes on the Lakers. I gotta say, he's like 44% this year from three.
Yeah.
Crazy,
Sucked in
but
the contest.
yeah, also can't play defense.
Oh
Which
my
I'm not
God.
gonna talk about the clip.
The clip is so good.
Every time I see this man, all I think about is like I cannot help but laugh when I see that clip, and
Dude, it
it's
looks like
not fun. It's
it
not
looks like he
good.
turned off. It looks like
His controller
his
died.
animatronic shut down.
I can't even talk right now. It's so funny.
Who was it? I don't even remember who it
It
was.
was against the Pacers. It was just Tyrese
It was
Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah,
He
Tyrese
didn't even like
just
do anything crazy. He just like
Malik Beasley just standing there like this. He goes, ah, he got. I
you
guess he
got
got
around
past
me.
me.
Bollocks.
Ah,
Um,
nuts.
but anyway, yeah. So Bucks third. Bucks have playoff experience. You got Damian Lillard, who's a very clutch player with Giannis, and I think they're going to
He's
be
been a lot better lately too.
yeah, I think they're going to be working a lot more together. Their two-man game, and hey, look at that.
Hey,
Doc
hey,
Rivers is
hey.
kind of settling into the head coach thing, although there was a little bit of a little learning curve when he became the head coach. But doing a lot better, setting into the system, and yeah, I like him at third.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing I'm most worried about, concerned about, Chris Middleton's health. He's been
Yeah,
out a lot this year. I think you need that kind of release valve for Giannis and Dame. It can't just be them. You sometimes have to give it to another guy. And Chris Middleton, in the Bucks championship year, big shot maker. And I know you have Damian Lillard now, and he will probably take most of those shots, because he's Damian Lillard. But you have a play where, let's say, Damian Lillard gets a screen, gets inbounded the ball, double teamed. You need somebody to be able to pass the ball to and hit that shot. Chris Middleton has been one of those guys, so hopefully he's back and healthy. I think they need that secondary kind of creation in order for them to thrive in a long playoff environment. Because as good as Giannis and Dame are, neither of them are quite the facilitator that a Jokic is or something. So it's like you need other players to kind of play their part. It can't just be, the same thing over and over and over again.
and I totally forgot Clippers legend Patrick Beverly is on the team.
Oh yeah,
So
I mean that's been another big addition for their defense. The reason
yeah,
their defense has been better. He's been yelling at guys for playing bad defense and stuff. So
yeah,
that's what Patrick Beverly does.
I mean, I'm not mad about that. I'm mad about other things, but I think that's good. You got a veteran on there who's going to be, telling these other guys to, play defense like they mean it.
He keeps a job. That's how he does it.
Um, and now we have our final tie.
Our final tie. Oh, for
Our
number
final
one
tie
and
for
number
number
two.
one, and I'm not backing. I'm kidding. For number two and number one.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah,
you showed your hand earlier. You said you had the Celtics at one.
I had the Celtics
Um,
at one, so that must mean that you had.
I had the Nuggets at one, the
Okay,
Celtics at two. You had the Nuggets at two.
absolutely.
When I originally made this list, I had the Celtics at one.
Yeah.
And I realized that the Nuggets and Celtics have played twice, and the Nuggets won both games.
Mhm.
Um, and the Celtics, I think I don't know their record, 49 and 12, 13, something like that.
48, 49 and 14.
49-14. Okay. Um, so very good, obviously. Only 14 losses all season. Two of them are to the Nuggets, at home in Denver and in Boston. And the game they played against them was really close. They played a game really recently. And it was
Hmm.
it was like a finals preview-esque game. And it was a really good game. It was close the whole way. And again, the Celtics crunch time offense just kind of faltered, and they couldn't get like a lot going. The game did end on like a missed Jason Tatum three that he was pretty open in the corner, so definitely like a makeable shot. Um, and that was what I was alluding to earlier with the MVP case being closed. These kind of close games they lost where he's supposed to be the guy. And
Yeah.
I just think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA, and that's kind of what it boils down to. He's been absurd all year again, and I think in the playoffs, they're starting five with Murray and KCP and Michael Porter, um, and Aaron Gordon, and then their bench guys. Peyton Watson has been pretty good. I think Jackson will probably get some time. I just think their team is so solid and their identity is so known. They know exactly how they're going to play, and I feel like teams have been doing everything in the past 2 or 3 years to stop Jokic, and they just can't do it. Whereas I think and again, I thought, who wins this finals if these two teams make it there? And I just thought kind of the Nuggets, you put Aaron Gordon on Tatum, um, maybe KCP on Jalen Brown, although maybe a little small. And it's like I think the matchup just kind of worked out better for the Nuggets. I do think the Celtics have more talent on their roster. I think they're a better team talent-wise. I just think the Nuggets and the way they play coming off the championship, the way they've been playing as of late, they've really been ramping it up coming towards the playoffs. I just think they are the team to beat. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where I landed.
You done?
I'm done. I'm done. Plead your case. Let's hear it.
Well, I totally agree with you. And actually, when I was looking at this list after you kind of sent it to me, I do think the Nuggets are number one.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say.
No
I'm
debate.
not gonna. I know. Yeah, yeah, no debate. I do think the Nuggets are number one. Because of a lot of the same things you said. I think they have proven it many times. They have the same starting five they had for the finals run. They are able to beat teams who are really good, and they beat them. I wouldn't say pretty handily, but like convincingly. I think the reason why I had the Celtics first is because I think their home record is scary. They have not lost many. Their home record is crazy. I think they only lost probably like 5 games at home at this point, but they were on like an 18 or 19 straight, like winning straight from home.
Yeah.
So, it's scary. You definitely don't want to face that in the playoffs. But then you know what? The Nuggets also have the best home, like the best home record in the West. So literally the two best teams at home playing in the finals would be scary. But I do see the Nuggets winning in a 7-game series. I just do because of a lot of the same reasons. Jokic is clutch. Jamal Murray is clutch. And Jason Tatum still young. Jalen Brown, they're working it out, but watching them break down against the Cavaliers, they lost to the Lakers without LeBron and AD. The Nuggets would not have done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and no matter what, circumstances are like, it just would not have happened like that. So I do think the Nuggets are the team to beat. I have to say,
Well, I guess the Nuggets are number one then. Uh,
yeah,
the Celtics are number two. Take that, Boston.
yeah, and the Clippers are 10th. Take that. Um, yeah, but no, I'm very happy with that list. I
Oh,
think
that took a long time. This episode is long, isn't it?
remember when you texted me and you're like, you want to do power rankings for all 30 teams? I'm like, for all 30? He's like, yeah, we're not gonna talk that much about like the lower seeds. We started giving like
Huh? You cut out. You're cutting out.
around the 22nd minutes. Yeah. But it's fine. It's fine.
Um, that was
I
you.
very much enjoyed dissecting it.
You just glitched out on my computer. I didn't hear anything. Your screen froze for like 10 seconds, so that was pretty cool. And
Wait,
then
are you serious? What's the last thing I said?
you were like talking about. Remember how we are talking about all 30 teams, and then like it froze, and then I was like, and then you came back and you were like, ah, ha, ha, it's fine. I was like,
Okay,
what?
I'll repeat myself. Remember when you texted me
Uh-huh.
and you said we're gonna do power rankings for all 30 teams? I said, "Are you sure it's gonna take a long time?" And you
Nah,
said, "No, like the first 15 or so, like they're
it's
not
really
gonna
the
talk that much."
six-way tie.
Yeah, and then I was like, and then I was saying by the 23rd mark when we were talking about like the Jazz and Nets, we started talking quite a bit about them, and I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna be here for a bit." The ties didn't
Sorry.
help. No, no, no. I'm not saying to say sorry.
Sorry for
Um,
listen to our long podcast, a long form podcast. Well, a lot of podcasts do multiple episodes a week. We only do one a week, so
Yeah, exactly. Because we have other things to do
we
besides
have jobs, okay?
basketball.
We have
Yeah,
lives.
yeah, not a lot of them, but we do. collectively. But yeah, I'm excited about this list. I'm really excited to look back at this. Like
Mm.
everything that we've done so far this year, this is the first year we're gonna have all this data that we can just look
Yeah,
back at.
yeah, yeah.
I love that stuff so
Like I
much to be
can't believe the
like,
Pelicans won the championship as the
yeah,
14th
it's like,
ranked
wow, we thought they were like 13.5 when we averaged
team.
them. That's crazy. So that's gonna be a lot of fun to look at. And I have the official list. I'll send you a picture so
We're
you
gonna have
can
a whole
have it.
recap episode. We're gonna look back at our
It's gonna be
player
6 hours.
tiers, our standings predictions, our power rankings, our
It's gonna be
midseason
so long.
award. Like we're gonna have so many things to look back and be like, wow, we were so wrong about 90%
Yeah,
of
that's
this.
a lot of it's a lot of off-season stuff,
Oh
like
yeah,
that's
for
gonna
sure.
fill up a lot of that time. But yeah, no, that's been that was our power rankings for this year for the remainder of the season.
Let us know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who's right on the 76ers? Who's right on the Timberwolves?
Who's mostly right about the Clippers though?
Who's
And you know who the answer is.
who do you think is number one in the NBA? Who do you think
Yeah,
is number 30? And why is it the Wizards? Because it is the Wizards.
it is the
There's
Wizards.
no debate there. Sorry.
There's no debate. We're not talking about the bottom five teams. The bottom six teams. There was no
Yeah,
debate.
we had it perfectly in order for somehow. I think that's the most impressive part of this list.
All NBA analysts agree with us. I think that and the fact that the Warriors 17th. I think anything where we have the exact same is crazy because 6 out of 30 is really high. That's like 28% we got the same, which is crazy.
Wow, quick
So
math in the brain right there.
we're
Impressive.
smart. It's
Look at
10
you,
of
English
30.
major. Look at
Yeah,
you
and look at
go.
yeah. I know how to speak English. What can I say? Anyways, Damon has to take a shot and he has to make it.
I have to take it. I haven't made it in 20 episodes. I've really fallen off the wagon after making two
Washed,
early shots.
washed.
Yeah, I'm living my Ben Simmons life. I was an all-star and then I was not in the NBA after like 2 seasons basically. Um,
Yeah, it
but just
happens.
wait until I upload my off-season montage of me making all these. It's gonna be crazy. People are gonna be
It's
people are
gonna
gonna be
be
like,
two
oh,
seconds.
look out for next pod after this
Oh, I see
montage
what
you
you're
just
saying. That's
uploaded.
funny. We should do that. That would be funny.
I'm like, I cannot get the angle down in my head.
It's
YOLO.
also it's off because like mirrored to me. Anyways, he missed, but it's okay because he tried, and
But
that's all
I'm
that
making
matters.
this.
And he did.
I'm so
Um,
good.
yeah. Well, he made it forward, but not backwards. So washed,
Washed.
washed. Um,
Westbrook. Westbrook.
Westbrook. Right now he's standing up and he's gonna do it backwards, and he's off. I knew
Westbrook.
it when it.
West.
Okay.
What were you saying?
Um. Anyways, thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, share it. Let us know what you thought.
See my new basketball I got?
Um. No, where is it? Oh, sick. Oh, nice.
I
Wait,
got
is
it.
it? It's an indoor ball, right?
Yeah, I got an indoor ball because we've been playing at the Rex, and I was using
Yeah.
my outdoor ball, and I was like, I gotta stop using this. I got
Yeah.
this indoor ball. It's really nice. I did really good with it, so I was happy.
Yeah. No. I love playing indoors with an indoor ball. It's great. You know what I hate doing? Playing outdoors with an indoor ball.
Bad.
It's gets so dirty, it just gets so slippery.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, thanks again for listening. I hope you enjoyed listening to our power rankings and us debating. And
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your
all
loved
the
ones,
above.
kiss them goodnight.
Yeah. I think I might finally share this on my Instagram. We'll see.
Brother, please. Please, I don't even have
um,
social media. I can't share it anyway. I just tell people about it.
yeah, I'll probably share this one because I like this one. But thanks again for listening, and this has been Two Man Game with Damon and Dom.
And that's buckets.